Let's Talk Oculus, a VR podcast, is proudly sponsored by the good folks at Patreon. If you want to support the show, join us on patreon.com/Let's Talk Oculus. What's up, Oculus nerds? Welcome back to episode 146 of Let's Talk Oculus. I'm your host, Dan, and I'm joined by my co-host. It is Samson, definitely one of the Walkabout kings in this community, or between us, I would say. You definitely play Walkabout more than me. I think you're a better player than me as well, Samson, especially in the races. You're pretty good at the races, but how are you doing?
I do like the races. I am doing well. I have played a lot of Walkabout, especially on my PSVR 2 this weekend in preparation for today's pod. And I got to say, Dan, I love the haptic feedback on the PlayStation VR controller. I've gotten kind of used to holding that thing. Like, you got to kind of hold the outside of the orb. Yeah. It's a bit different of a holding technique, but I do love the feeling of it. And I've gotten used to that blur because honestly, that blur is just in everything you do PlayStation VR. It's just a part of the OLED.
Yeah, so you just it's just now accustomed to it, so you're fine. Maybe I thought it was worse in Walkabout just because of it's much of a stationary game, and then you're turning around in stationary places. So I think I maybe noticed it more, but yeah, it seems like it's not a Walkabout problem; it's a PSVR 2 problem.
So I got into some, as I mentioned, some of the courses. One of the ones I hopped in was Sweetopia. And on the Sweetopia part where there's a factory and there's sort of smokestacks, there was actual pink smoke billowing out in the PlayStation VR one that looked pretty good. And I don't remember seeing that in the Quest 2 or Quest 3 version.
I mean, probably not. So probably not.
I gotta hop into that, but it looked pretty good.
Yeah, the PSVR 2 one is crisp. I mean, we'll get into it in a moment, but the Quest 3 one's pretty good in some holes. Like El-dorado hard with the lightning and the rain on the Quest 3 looks really, really good. And I haven't jumped in that one for a long time, but I was surprised of how good it was, especially the lightning. I don't remember the lightning being such a big factor, and it's something that you can turn off as well. But
they might have turned it up to 11 there, so and then given
exactly. But all right, we have a special episode of Let's Talk Oculus. Reason being is because we only recorded the last week's episode 3 days ago or so. So, there's not much turnaround time, and we came up with a great idea of going through the Walkabout mini golf courses. And originally we thought, let's rank them. There's 26 of them, but let's do maybe a top 10, top 15 of them and give our reasons and such. And we've done that in the past with like just the year in review of Walkabout courses, and we'll probably do the same again this Christmas, this holiday, shall I say, of doing the 2024 Walkabout DLCs ranked as well, which will be fun. But because there's 26 courses as of today, obviously we have Wallace and Gromit coming out in about a week's time. For those of you who are listening to this when it releases, we have 26 right now. So Samson came up with this beautiful idea of doing a Walkabout bracket. And if you're unfamiliar with a bracket, think of like a sports tournament tree where you'll have normally 16 teams on one side of the bracket, 16 teams on the other side of the bracket, and each course goes head to head, and then we'll find the overall winner in the final. Kind of fitting. It's Sunday. Today is when the Euro final is on, and the Copa America final is on, and the tennis Wimbledon final is on. So kind of fitting that we're doing it on a very
Go Sports
tournament Sunday. Go Sports. So for those of you who want to kind of participate at home, I will include in the description a PDF of both sides of the bracket. So feel free to print that off and kind of like write down, or everyone's got fancy iPads nowadays with Apple Pencils. So go ahead and just, download it to your iPad or tablet and write on it. And play along with us. It's going to be, I feel like it's going to be a decent podcast for audio listeners as well, because we're going to go through, each head to head. So you won't need to know visually what it looks like.
And we'll try to repeat what we've done so you can kind of keep up with the bracket.
Yeah.
And a couple things. We're grouping together the easy and the hard modes.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons I wanted to do the bracket as opposed to a top 10 or top 15 is because it gets us to at least mention every course.
Yeah.
Instead of just picking those top 10. So that's a couple of things. BTS, why we went with this.
And the cool thing is that, I mean, the thing is, all 26 courses are great. Like some people prefer than others for sure, but there's not a bad course in the whole 26. I mean, arguably, I don't think there's a bad course. I looked down this whole list and was like, yeah, I could shuffle and play either one of these and have a good time. Some will give me a bit of a different experience. Some of these courses I'll jump in way more than the other ones, but all 26 courses for me are great.
I created a tier list, if you will, a ranking to kind of help guide me through this. And I had the same experience as you. It was just like, I can't decide. It's all which one. How do I decide which one's the worst, quote unquote? Because it's not really the worst. It's the least best.
Yeah.
The lowest in my ranking is the least best. And really, my ranking goes by the ones I like to hop in the most. That's sort of how I that's how my ranking is which ones do I prefer hopping in? Will I hop in without thinking, or will I be like, I've already played that one recently. I won't do it again.
Absolutely. And to kind of explain the bracket itself, like, normally when it comes to a tournament tree, you need some sort of multiple of 4, I believe. So not multiple of 4. I don't know what the actual math place is, but it's basically, we
got some bye weeks.
You need either 16 teams or 32 or 64 or such for it to all be even and such. But because there's only 26 courses, we can't do a perfect bracket. So yeah, like Samson just mentioned there are some buys. I believe there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 courses that get a bye to the second round. Now, originally what I did is I kind of did this bracket myself by just putting all the courses in order how it is on the Walkabout website. If you went over to their website, they would kind of list all the courses, starting from their original ones, like Tourist Trap, obviously, going all the way down to the bottom where some of their like special DLC ones are, like Myst and the downloadable content, the ones that are licensed and such. Not originally, I put the list like that, but then you had all of the original courses kind of just going up against each other, courses coming up against each other, and I mean that was fine. But I was like, it would probably be better and more fair if I just completely randomized the list. So I put the whole list in ChatGPT, and it just randomized it for me, basically. It's created the random list. I put it into this bracket generator, and it automatically assigned what will be the bye weeks. Okay, so when you see a controversial course like Tethy Station already progressed to round 2 because of a bye, that is why. Okay, that is why. I know for a lot of you, Tethys won't make it past the first round, not because it's a bad course, but because a lot of people find it frustrating and difficult. So if you see that, don't rage. And also, as we go through,
it needed all the help it could get.
And as we go through this bracket, me and Samson will kind of collaborate to build this bracket ourselves. So we won't do an individual one. We can do that one later, of course, and all of you can do one at home if you want to. But this one will be our the LTO bracket, shall we say, official one from the hosts of the podcast. And if obviously there's only 2 of us, there's no third rotating chair in this podcast. I wish I could have got a third person in, but we figured this idea yesterday, so the turnaround time was tight. But if we don't agree on one of them, let's say we just can't convince each other that Tethys is better than original Gothic, for example, then what we can do is we can go to our independent judges. So I gave the bracket to Parody Dave, who is in the Discord and Patreon of the show, and also to Parody for Life, who is in the Discord and was also one heck of a Walkabout player who always contributes to the Walkabout tournament that we have each week. I gave the brackets to both of them for them to fill out. Okay. Now, obviously, they could have different trees when it gets into the later rounds. So that's why I gave it to two people. And Samson has Dave's. I have Parody's. I've actually not seen Dave's. Samson's not seen Parody's. So basically, if we have a tie, we can go to one of them. We can just nominate, okay, let's go to Dave and let's see what Dave did. And whoever's course, whatever course that Dave chose that ranked higher, that will proceed into the next round.
We'll pick whoever.
Does that make sense for
really
everybody? I
with
think
me.
it makes sense. Does that make sense, Samson?
We'll just go with who agrees with me. I think that's
Yeah, I think that's the right way forward. Okay, so round one. This is what we have. I'll just go through it first quickly on bracket one. So round one, we have Alfheim against Original Gothic. We have Bogeys Bonanza versus Arizona Modern. Gardens of Babylon against Upside Town. Lair versus Seagull Stacks. Shangri-La versus Journey to the Center of the Earth. Remember, there's a download link in the description. Don't need to memorize all of this. Lair versus Sweetopia. Widow's Walkabout versus El-dorado. Temple at Zerzura against Around the World in 80 Days. Myst versus Labrynith. Cherry Blossom versus Venice. And then the buys are Tethys gets a buy, Tourist Trap gets a buy, Meow Wolf gets a buy, Atlantis gets a buy, Coyote Valley gets a buy, and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea gets a buy as well. Okay. So that is the bracket. Samson, let's begin. Let's do it. Let's begin of our first one. So let's start off with Alfheim versus Original Gothic. Samson, what? First of all, before we go into our picks here, what do you like about these two courses here? What do you like about Alfheim? Let's start with that.
Well, they're both going back to the basics of mini golf. I'd say Alfheim's got the curves you can play it on.
Mm-hmm.
Rather simple holes on the whole, I'd say, and same with Original Gothic. But Original Gothic it tries some new things. You got that hole where you got to hit it through the sort of hole inside the fence.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple curveballs, I'd say, in Original Gothic.
Yeah. But
my oh my, they both have such great vibes, which is something that Parody for Life pointed out.
Mm-hmm.
But I know I've got my pick because, as many of our longtime listeners know, Original Gothic is one of my favorites.
Nice.
How are you feeling about these?
Yeah, these two are an interesting matchup to start off. Alfheim is a beautiful course. I think it came out during a time where they did do a lot of wacky's not the word, but experimental courses, as well as with physics and such like that. So this was more of a return to the basics when it comes to Walkabout. The thing I love about Alfheim is that, like you said, the aesthetic is absolutely beautiful. It's a beautiful course. I love the curvature that you have to kind of follow. One of the holes, I think it's hole 5, where it's just completely downhill, and when you hit it perfectly straight, it will go into the hole. But if you just mess it up a little bit, then you'll miss to the left, miss to the right, and such like that. Alfheim is a beautiful course, and it's also a course that this is the one that's like Lord of the Rings, right? It gives you kind of Rivendell kind of vibes. With Alfheim. Yeah,
precisely.
I do really like this course, but I don't tend to play this one often, to be honest. Original Gothic is such a classic. I'm not a massive like horror fan. I mean, we'll talk about that when it goes to like Widow's Walkabout. When it comes to some of these courses, not okay. Horror is not the right word. Halloween, not a big Halloween person. But original Gothic just kind of is on the kind of fine line with that, and then having the
it's got Christmas.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Having like the holiday hard mode is really cool, really fun. I remember just doing it was one of the first times that I completed where I got all the balls. I also got the club as well. Like it's such a beautiful course. The music's great, and I think it's a fan favorite. And I think most will agree with us when it comes to original Gothic should move on to the next round. So we are in agreement.
100%. And Alfheim came out between Lair and Widow's Walkabout. So yeah, it was sort of crammed in there between two more, not gimmicky, but they had, things going on.
They had more physics and special features itself. Okay, that's our first one. Original Gothic proceeds past Alfheim. The next one on our list is Bogeys Bonanza versus ours. I was about to say Arizona Sunshine, Arizona Modern. Samson, I'll start off with you again. What are you liking in this round?
I am liking both of these, but one I'd say significantly more than the other. As Arizona Modern, I think, is slowly falling down my rankings as time's gone on. It's in need of a little sprucing up, I'd say, and then that might bring it up a little bit, but it's got a decent vibe. But I love the vibe of Bogeys Bonanza, and that hole where you have to hit the guy in the heart to get the hole in one. I love that.
Yeah,
I love the hole with the the gold bricks where you got, it's like a part 2 or 3, but you can kind of get the hole in one if you bounce it correctly. The revolver hole used to really bother me, but now I even like that one, Dan.
Yeah.
Like, it's got it all. The one that I don't particularly like on Bogeys is that really long graveyard one.
Right. Yeah. The one at 18th. 18th.
Is it 18?
Yeah, that's what
it might be. 18 hard.
18 hard has the like gravestones at the end, but it's pretty long. And you can falter on that quite easily, to be honest, if you get like 1 or 2 shots incorrect.
I will say Arizona Modern has some holes that I particularly do like. It feels really good to do that half pipe one where if you hit it really straight and slow and it go hole in one. And I like 18, the really long 18 easy, I guess, where you just got to hit it straight and long. Even the half, like hole 3 or 4 early in there where it's got the 3 holes.
Yeah.
And you got to kind of loop it up and bounce it in. It's got some fun ones for sure. But for me, Bogeys.
Yeah. Yeah. So, first of all, I just remembered as you were speaking about that, I made a mistake in the last comment with Alfheim when I said the hole 5, the one that you just thread the needle, basically. That's actually Temple of Zerzura. I sometimes get those two courses mixed up, to be honest. But yeah, just wanted to correct that before at least Matt916 messages me on the Discord or something about that. So moving on to these. I wrote a few things for Bogeys because I really like Bogeys Bonanza, and there's no, that kind of gives it away that I'm going to choose Bogeys here because I love this course. This is actually in my like top 3, top 4 courses. I really like the theme, the Western theme, and I think the holes in general overall is they're pretty fair. All the holes, and like you said, the 18th hole you could potentially say might be a bit feels a bit out of there compared to the rest of the courses, but the rest of the holes. But at the same time, Walkabout or Mighty Coconut does that quite a lot, where the 18th hole might be significantly different to the rest of the course.
I did notice that writing my least favorites was a lot of 18s.
Yeah, because they are very different to the rest of the course. Normally, is what the kind of theme that they do there. Trying to have a big grand exit basically. But yeah, I love this course. Going into the mines is really fun. Into the gold mines. One of those holes, I think the first hole that you go into the gold mine, second hole, sorry, where you have to go around the ramp and such is really fun. And then obviously you go into the saloon, which is really fun as well. And there's like items everywhere and you kind of got to avoid them. Really clever course. I have a great time in that. I play this course quite often, and obviously I've done the fox hunt in this one and found a lot of balls in this one. And then I love the like campfire feeling of the hard mode, where it's just dark and you can hear some of the campfire.
It's a good vibe.
It's a good vibe. So when it comes to like a favorite hole for this course, I had a really hard time because I like a lot of them. There's a few favorites in there, but hole 13 has to stand out for me. And for those of you who don't know what hole 13 is, that's the one where you have to hit it into the water tower and it goes on top. The ball goes on top of the train roof and then lands onto the green. That's what I said. So the satisfying sound when it rolls, there's like the pipe sound where it rolls on the top is so satisfying, and you get it the longest on this specific hole. So I had to pick that one. And my actual least favorite hole for this course is hole 4 on hard. That's the one where it has like the wheels in on the actual course. I always get stuck between the wheels or like between the rocks. I just always have a tough time with that specific hole. But yeah, Bogeys Bonanza is fantastic. But quick few words on Arizona Modern. I think Arizona Modern is a great vibe. For some reason, I feel hot when I play this course and be in the desert. And then the music is so relaxing and beautiful. I can't wait for them to remaster this one, because this is kind of in a dire need for that remaster, because there is a significant lack of elements compared to now the new Cherry Blossom, Tourist Trap, and even Seagull stacks, even though that's not been updated. So this one definitely is in dire need of a remaster. But as a course, I really like this course. It feels like the little brother of Tessie Station, in a way, or a cousin of Tessie Station, where this is like a bit more fair, but it has similar kind of like contours and such, and the half pipe. So Tessie's is like, it takes that to a whole new level, for better or for worse. But yeah, I really like Arizona Modern. It's a course that I probably don't play as much anymore, but I'm sure when they remaster it, I think I'll be in it even more. But yeah, for me as well, Bogeys goes through. So yeah, we agree on that one too. I wonder when we're gonna have our first conflict. But Bogeys.
Could it be here? Would you like to start with this one?
Yeah, okay. So the next one is Gardens of Babylon versus Upside Town. Starting off with Gardens of Babylon, this is the first for the Lost Cities. Lost Cities? Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it's a Lost City.
I loved this course when it first came out. I really liked the Greek theme, the aesthetic. The colors really popped with the white and the blue, and it was just it was probably the first course that I've seen of them that really like blew me away visually. Originally, this has obviously changed now because they just keep topping themselves, and this was ages ago. But I originally loved this course. I know we used to play with the Discord community and the Patreon community many times when this came out as well, because I think at that point we used to play every Wednesday as well, or every Thursday or Wednesday. So that the special one for this one as well. We have got a lot of good memories. We've got Ramp Rock. For those of you who don't know what that is, don't worry about it. It's it's an inside joke in that one. The only thing I don't like about that course is there's two things. One is that really long uphill, especially on hard mode where there's no like stops. And then on the 18th hole for easy, where you just have to hit it into the fountain. It's not as easy as just have to hit it, but I'm not a big fan of the 18th holes that are, you just have to hit it into a specific area and that's it. Prefer like an actual hole for the 18th hole. But I really like Gardens of Babylon. It has good memories basically. Upside Town is another controversial one. I love the way they did these physics. They just went, you know what? Let's just do something that's completely out there with Upside Town and be super unique and be really creative about this. And yeah, it's not a course that you're going to play as often because it's a different type of golf course, right? You're not you're trying to do. You really have to think for each hole and kind of get everything super perfect, which can be frustrating, and I totally understand that. I love the Fox Hunt golf club. If you don't know, it's the one where it's like the crane on the top, and then a few of the elements at the bottom have kind of disappeared, so it looks like the putter head is kind of floating. Big fan of this one. So I'm struggling on which one to pick. I'm not going to lie.
Well, you keep thinking
you,
while I talk.
You go before I pick, because I'm not too sure. Try and convince me either way. Go for it.
So before I get into my thoughts, I just want to point out that Kimmy Kai from a Discord and Patreon is Gardens of Babylon was one of the first ones that blew her away.
Mm-hmm.
Though she does say it's more about the setting than the playing the course itself.
Yeah.
I am in complete agreement with both the frustrating holes you've mentioned, the Big Hill and 18. I've never really vibed with the Gardens of Babylon. It's not to say that I dislike it. It's just that me and it just don't click like some of the other courses. So I might be giving away which one I might be selecting here. But that's my feel of the Gardens of Babylon. I'm never really selecting this one. I'm never really selecting this one when I play.
Yeah.
This was one of the bottom 5 for me. I'm not going to lie about that. So, Upside Down.
Yeah, tell me about
wacky.
it.
You're wild.
Yeah.
I hated you at first. I was like, what the heck am I doing here? But you grew on me. You grew on me, Upside Down.
Yeah, that's true.
And now I am right side up for you. So I love the sound effects of the
yeah.
It's a fun, wacky one. At first I was really put off trying to hit things on my ceiling and on the walls, but now I'm kind of used to them. I feel this is one I'm never putting someone new in, right? This is not, you got to play another course before you play this one for sure. And so with that, I don't get into it too often, but it's not because I'm like, oh, I don't want to play that one. It's more because, oh, you're not ready to play that one yet. And ultimately, I prefer to be in Upside Down than the Gardens of Babylon.
Yeah. I as you're speaking there, I think I agree with you. I think because Babylon has a couple of those frustrating holes. One could argue that Upside Down could be completely frustrating for every hole, but you know what you're getting into for that whole course. And when you play Upside Down, you're like, okay, I know exactly what I'm going to play here. It's going to be something completely unique. And I agree with you. I want to go ahead and put Upside Down.
I'm also a fan of some gimmicks. I'm not going to lie, which is going to be a struggle for me going into our next matchup, because I do like gimmicks, but I also really like those OG courses. Well, Seagull Stacks and Tourist Trap at the very least.
Well, let's get into it.
But I'm getting ahead of myself.
Oh, no, let's get in. Let's get straight into it. The next one is Seagull Stacks and Laser Lead. You want to start off with this one?
I'd love to. And I think maybe we each talk about one course and then each talk about the other. Let's try that this one.
Let's do that.
And so first I'm going to talk about Seagull Stacks, because this is one of my top 5 courses, I believe. Let me look at my rating. All right, I've got it 6.
I got a 6 as well.
I absolutely love this one. And the hard course is frustrating. It's got some of the most frustrating holes.
Yeah.
But I just love being in Seagull Stacks. I get chills when I feel the wind. I love to play this one outside on like a fall evening. And the easy course is more manageable. I'll give that. The one of the holes I really didn't like at first was the one where you got to go between the rocks up the hill, or you can kind of like, once I learned how to take the shortcut, just like kind of ding it up the rock and it boop boop up there.
That one's hard because obviously
less frustrating.
If you hit it too hard, it can fall off the edge as well. So Then you have to go up, and getting it up the hill is quite difficult as well. Or you have to go round if on hard mode and such. And yeah, I don't remember exactly what hole that is. It's one of the earlier ones in the on the front on the 18. But yeah, that one's a tough one for sure.
And then 18 is a little frustrating, but that one's sort of grown on me too. You just got to take it in slow and steady. And just want to mention the fox hunt in this one. This was all like the images, and you had to look at the shadows. And this was one of the first fox hunts where I was like, oh my god, I need Inner Princess video, because some of these are tough. But ultimately, it is my favorite golf club. It's the Gandalf staff.
Yeah.
So
I love the Gandalf staff.
I got to say that.
I had to do that one with my uncle to get a second opinion as we were doing this one. And when we got the Gandalf staff, we just flew around Seagull stacks like we're on a broom, basically. Like, nice. Yeah, it was actually so stupid, but so fun. Yeah, Seagull stacks is a phenomenal course. I'm very interested when they do the remaster of this, what it's going to look like with the extra elements, but it doesn't need it as much as like Arizona Modern did. But Seagull stacks, the fact that first of all, the course layout of how you have to go up this kind of like kind of a mountain and you come right back down and such is a really cool concept. The fact that it's snowing and such, it feels like I'm somewhere in Scotland, off an island or something like that. Once again, beautiful music, beautiful setting and vibe, and like you said, you get a bit of a chill. I just feel very relaxed in this actual course. It is a very difficult course though. It's one of those where, you know, it teases you to play aggressively, and when you do, sometimes it doesn't work. Yeah. But the reason why it teases you is because you can pull it off. It's not like, oh, it's quite impossible to get close to the hole with one shot or something like that. If you hit the rock in the right way, if you hit the side piece in the right way, and you know you'll get to the hole and you'll do it quick. But sometimes it just teases you too much and you go for it, and then it gets frustrating and such. But I think that's more of a player than than a course problem. There's one hole that I actually don't like in Seagull stacks, and I don't remember which hole it is exactly, but I'll describe it. It's the one where you're on a top platform and you have to get it into multiple holes as you go down and down and down the platform.
Hole 13. That's one of the least favorite for me as well.
Yeah, so that's the only one I don't really like, just because of the way you have to play that one. But aside for that, and then hole 18 on hard is incredibly difficult, because once again, it teases you to just smack it, but that's never going to work with it. So
yeah.
But it's a beautiful course, like you said. The fox hunt's really cool with the pictures and the images. And yeah, I really like Seagull stacks. How about Laser Lair?
Lair. All right. So I've already previously mentioned that I love the gimmicks. So I do love the lasers. I love having to go over the hills. I love how they're moving in some of them.
Yeah.
It's a great vibe. We got the beach ball in this one.
We did. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the early James Bond movies. So it's got that whole vibe. I love being there. This is one of the gimmick ones that I don't mind taking someone into who newer to the game into the easy mode.
Yeah.
Because everybody understands a laser, and I love how it splits your ball. Like one of the first times where we had like a ball effect like that.
It's so satisfying. Yeah.
So this one, it's not as high on my rankings. Actually, it is in my top 20. I feel like I could move it up. It's so convoluted down there.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I do think Seagull Stacks pulls out a little bit ahead for me against Laser Lair. I do love me those lasers though. I love the sounds. I love it all. But I'm a man. It's hard to pull me away from those OG courses that I love.
Well, I'm in agreement with you. Laser Lair is a really cool concept. I still remember we spoke about this before when we did our Laser Lair like kind of review. Is that I think we both intentionally hit. No, was it me and you? I can't remember.
Yeah,
It was me and you. Right?
I definitely remember you
Where
did
we
it. Yeah.
both intentionally hit the lasers to see what it's like, thinking that we're going to be fine. We can dodge them for the whole course, but absolutely not. But yeah, it's so satisfying, and with that, and I like that this course is a very much of a timing course. Like you really got to be patient and hit the ball at the right time. And such. It is a course that I don't go back to as much compared to its sister course of the Ice Lair, and we'll talk about that in due time. But yeah, I think it's a solid course with as a fun kind of gimmick. I like how the hard mode turns into like a science fair. And you've got
those puffins are funny.
The puffins, yeah, the puffins are hilarious, and a cool 18th hole. I don't normally like those 18th hole where you just have to hit it, but I think on the hard it's kind of cool with the having to dodge the lasers and such like that, and obviously seeing the robot engage or not engage if you're on the easy mode. No, I do like Laser Lair, but I must admit it is one that I don't return often. If I do like a shuffle, it goes onto it, and I'm like, okay, cool, I'm playing this and I'm having a good time. But I don't return to Laser Lair that often. But a cool concept. So I agree with you. Seagull Stacks makes it through to round 2.
Just to recap, we've had Alfheim Original Gothic, where Original Gothic pulled ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had Bogeys Bonanza versus Arizona Modern, where Bogeys Bonanza pulled out ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had Gardens of Babylon versus Upside Town. Upside Town moved ahead. So in the next round, we'll have Tethy Station versus Original Gothic. Then we'll have Bogeys Bonanza versus Upside Town. And then we just had Laser Lair versus Seagull Stacks, where Seagull Stacks, I believe, is moving on and will face Taurus Trap in the next round.
Yeah.
And Dan, what are we going to be talking about next?
Next, we have Shangri-La versus Journey to the Center of the Earth. Let's start off with Shangri-La. Shangri-La is a beautiful, beautiful course. It was, when it came out, it was like absolutely stunning. It still is, especially in hard mode where you see all the lanterns flying across and such. And this is definitely in my I won't give anything away here, but it's in my top 10 for sure. Shangri-La. I really like the aesthetic. I feel like the course itself is, I wouldn't say simple, but it's a solid course. Okay, you've got a lot of sand. That's the one with the sand mechanic, right? And it's the sand is quite.
It'll slow you down. It's hard to.
It's quite difficult. I'm not going to lie, especially if you've not played it for a while. The sand slows you down considerably more than you would think. But I do like it. It adds another dynamic. It's not my favorite physic in there, but I like the idea of it. There are a few fun holes in this one. There was one, I forgot exactly which hole it is, but there was one where you're on a higher platform, and you can basically hit the ball across to the other side and play safe and such if you want to. But if you try and like get the ball to kind of like roll on the stairs that takes you down to that platform, you can maybe get it right next to the hole, which is a really fun hole to play. I mean, you've got a couple of those. Obviously, the 18th hole, you kind of hit it into a void as it goes down to the bottom.
Tough, yeah.
18th can be tough, yeah. The 17th hole is really fun as you go from platform to platform, but this is one like Seagull Stacks where it kind of teases you to just go for it and skip platforms and such, and it is doable for sure. It's what I really like about it. This course, I think, it's not as memorable as some, for sure. It's not as memorable as some, but it is a course that I really have a good time with, especially on hard mode. There's something about hard mode. I think it is with the lanterns. I think it is with the difficulty. I feel like the difficulty in hard mode is just turned up just right, where I have a really good time with it. Yeah, I like this course. I like the fact that you can ride an elevator that goes up and down, and that was like one of the first courses that you could do that as well. But yeah, Shangri-La is a pretty solid course. How about yourself?
Gondola, yeah. Yeah. I am a fan of Shangri-La, particularly the night mode with all those lanterns. Absolutely fantastic. I think my favorite hole's hole 15. That's one where you're in the white tower and it's got the holes.
Yes.
And somehow
and you go down. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That one's very satisfying to me, even though I don't really have a strategy to it. But when I can get that ball all the way down in one shot,
Oh,
like, ooh,
yeah, I agree
it's
with
like
you.
when you're trying to fit the blocks into the certain holes. So like, ooh,
Yeah.
it all fit together. I like it.
Yeah.
And my least favorite hole on Shangri-La is the hole 12. That's one where you're on a platform and then the hole is kind of, there's like some wood along the right side, but you want to
Oh,
hit
that's
it
the
into
one
the
that I was
gap.
talking about that I liked.
Yeah,
Yeah, the whole
not
12. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
not a fan of that one. Um,
That's another one though. It's quite
yeah,
satisfying when you pull it off. When you manage to do it. But
yeah. I just feel like it's a hit and pray. It is
mm,
kind of like Coyote Valley 18 or something,
yeah, that's fair.
without the wind
That's fair.
to me. Which I do like that one, but I don't like this adaptation.
Yeah, that's fair. Journey to the Center of the Earth is what it's up against. Journey to the Center of the Earth is actually a course that I haven't played much of. That's the only reason why it came out at a time where I think I was just away, or I think I was away for like a couple of weeks or something.
Must have been summer.
Yeah, it must have been summer. I didn't have my Quest with me, so I didn't actually play it until much
It
later.
was summer. It was June 8th, actually.
And this is an interesting course because it's got a really cool mechanic where you have a light, basically a flashlight on your putter or on your head if you choose that mode. I always do the putter because I like the authenticity of it. But not only does it have that, it also has the water mechanic of where the water can go up and down and such like that, which is a really cool idea as well. Once again, timing comes into play. They don't really play that often in this course, but there is like I think hole 10, hole 11, hole 12. I think 3 holes in a row have that water effect and such. But yeah, I mean that's hard mode, right, with the flashlights, but but it's the one that I always go to if I'm playing this course. I do go into hard mode because of the flashlights and
Really?
such. Yeah, I always go into that one just because I love the idea of it. I think it's really cool. It's one that I do put people in the quest as well. Maybe not when obviously their first course, but maybe like a few down the road, just to show you like how far this can be, how far this kind of courses can go. I don't really have like favorite holes as such. I do find the water ones satisfying when you can do it, but there's one water one, I think it's the last one out of the like 3-hole water stretch, where I think it might be hole 12, where on hard mode it's
Yeah, it is.
very difficult unless you play really conservatively. Even then you can still fall down a little bit, but apart from maybe that hole, all the other holes like are pretty solid. The 18th hole can be very satisfying, but also could be very frustrating as well. It's a little bit out there. So yeah, Journey to the Center of the Earth. It's a course that I can't even speak too much about the easy one because I haven't played it for a long time. I always play the hard mode every time I jump into this one just because of the aesthetic. So yeah, a really solid course in general, but I do feel like a lot of these holes are either a bit too difficult or maybe a little bit unfair, is what some people would say. With some of these holes, that they're not as memorable as some of the other ones. But how about you, Samson?
I really like this one. This one got me to listen to some Jules Verne. I listened to a good chunk of this book. I don't think I finished the book. Mike's going to call me out for that one, I bet, too. You can't even finish books either. That is funny because that hole 12 with the hard tide one, I do find frustrating, but I also kind of like it. I love how it sometimes takes 2 tides for your ball to be pulled away.
Yeah.
I don't really like the mushroom hole where you got to kind of bounce it off the mushroom. I always mess that
I do
one
bad
up
on hard
somehow.
mode for that one. That is very
Yeah.
difficult. Yeah.
I like the colors. I like how you're going from really dark and then you get to that diamond, like the purpley blue, whatever color that is, and then the mushrooms do look cool, and then it sort of opens up in the cave where you see the Loch Ness monster or whatever swimming out there.
Yeah.
Hole 18. So I do love the sound of the ball hitting rocks and how it plays off rocks throughout the whole course. But my God, that hole 18 can be really, really tough.
Yeah, it can. It can. Okay,
times.
so
I do love it. I do love it. This is a tough one, Dan. I'm gonna have you go first. Which one do you pick in?
this is a tough one. My gut says Shangri-La. My heart says Journey to the Center of the Earth. Just because of like how unique they've done that, and like I said, I love the hard mode alone. I absolutely love, and oh man, Samson, I'm having a tough time too. This might have to go to our
Let's
independent panel.
yeah, let's see what Dave said over there.
Yeah, tell me what Dave said.
So Dave said, Journey is almost 4 courses in one. The tunnel leads to the crystals, leads to the tide pools, leads to the underground lake. Shangri-La is peaceful, but Journey takes you on, well, a journey.
Yeah, I agree with. I'm gonna put Journey through for me. This is surprising because if I did my like favorite top 10, Shangri-La was ahead of Journey. I think Journey was 9, Shangri-La was 7. But just on the head to head, I'm gonna put Journey. How about you?
I agree. So I had Shangri-La 7 and Journey 12, but I think Journey's pulling the upset here in round 1 for me as well.
This is the upset.
Thanks to Dave there too for helping that one along, I'd say.
Absolutely.
Because that was a tough one. That was tough. And so we have Journey's going to be taking on Meow Wolf next round.
In the next round. Okay, let's move on to the second side of the bracket for round 1, and then we'll take a break and move on to part 2, and then we'll go into the second round and such. Okay, so let's get straight into it. We've got Ice Lair versus Sweetopia. Samson, do you want to start off with this one? And then
I'd love to.
Go for it.
I'll start with Sweetopia here. Because Sweetopia has been lower on my list, shall we say, generally, since we started doing these lists. But I just hopped back into it. And I kind of liked it more than I used to like it, I feel, for some reason. That is not to say it's hopped all the way into my top 10 or even my top 15. But it might be entering. It might be climbing slowly up my rankings there. It's kind of a fun vibe, and it honestly doesn't have that many holes where I'm like, I really don't like this one. I'd say my least favorite is probably 15. It's the one with the mixers, where you got to really time it. I particularly don't like that one on hard mode. Easy mode, I kind of dig it a little bit more because you can kind of slowly get it to go by.
Yeah,
but I really like the waffle, and I really like the spiral. That one's very satisfying. It's like that's something you've always wanted to do in a mini golf game.
The spiral is really
life.
cool.
It's just like be able to hit it. Yeah, exactly.
The spiral is really
cool. So I've been kind of digging Sweetopia.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
Sweetopia is a funny one. It's never on the bottom of everyone's list, but it's also never on the top. I never get anyone's. Everyone kind of forgets about it, and I don't mean that in like no one plays it or anything like that. It's just more that it's just a solid course in a way. But I think it's very underrated. It's a course, first of all, that I absolutely love. That I love that easy and hard mode are very different in terms of themes. Like easy is just like you're in Willy Wonka's chocolate factory or candy factory in this case, and then the hard mode it's all about love and romance. And you get all these little like love heart with messages everywhere, and it's really, really charming, and it feels sensual with chocolate, basically. That hard mode, and I just love the fact that it's completely different. Some of these hard modes are just like you just play it at night, essentially, same music and everything, and the holes are harder. This is one that is drastically different, and it's really cool that happens in this one. This is the one that I actually really don't like. The putter. The putter's kind of like wavy, curvy and such, and it always throws me off when I'm playing, so I just never play with it. just as more of a personal thing than anything. One of the holes that I don't like is the marshmallow hole where you're at the top and you need to get down to the bottom. I never can really do that right. It feels like it's a hit and hope more than anything, or you can maybe play safe. I don't know. Maybe I just haven't got it right. But I love the fact the when you're in the factory, when you're inside the factory, and you have that machine that is doing like, I don't know, like pink candies like wrapping around the machine as you have to put through it essentially. That's a really cool design of what they've made, and it's a really fun going into the factory and seeing the candy and then the chocolate and such, and then going right down to the bottom and finding a skeleton at the bottom. So yeah, I think Sweetopia is a very underrated course. I think it's a one that people sleep on, maybe because of the theme or something like that. But yeah, I really like Sweetopia much more than I've like put it on my list. Like I didn't even put it in my top 15, but I do really like the course every time I jump into it.
It's number 20 for me down there.
Yeah. What about Ice Lair?
Ice Lair. Now, ice cubes, that's a gimmick that I could drink up. And I tried to get an ice pun in there.
Yeah, you tried that fast enough. Yeah, you tried.
Yeah, I'm slipping and sliding. I'm down this hill. So my favorite hole is the big hockey rink one, where you can kind of hit it and pray.
Yeah,
it just slides all over.
I love that one too.
In general, though, I just love the strategy of: do I want to try to convert my ball into an ice cube? Do I want it? I love how the cube plays on the regular grass, and you can get it to hop up. Yeah. I really like the puffins. Did we mention the puffins before? I feel like we mentioned the puffins.
We mentioned the puffins. I think we mentioned the puffins on Laser Lair, but
Laser. I think we got that wrong, didn't we? Then
isn't there evil puffins on that one too, or is it penguins or something like that? I thought there was some sort of evil. There is definitely a another evil one in there, but maybe I mixed it. They're very similar courses in terms of aesthetic, but never mind. Moving on,
moving right along. The submarine one where you have to hit it on top of the submarine and kind of slides off. One, yeah. I don't really like that.
Oh, you don't like it? I thought that was
it's a cool idea, but I find it frustrating as all hell.
That's fair.
I can never hit that one straight. But Ice Lair, I like the layers. I do like this. I do like the layers, and Ice Lair right now is in my top 10. It's because I love this gimmick.
Yeah,
it's a fun gimmick that you can. I feel like the Ice Lair is better for newbies than the Laser Lair, not because it's an easier mechanic to deal with, but it's kind of a more fun one, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think Ice Lair, if Ice Lair was against Laser Lair, I would pick Ice Lair over Laser Lair. I think Laser Lair is great in terms of like it's a standard course, and then it adds this like cool laser mechanic. Ice Lair just goes all out with this ice mechanic. The way the ball freezes, and like you said, the way the ball completely changes when it's frozen, where it hardly moves when you're on grass, but then when you're on ice, it slides like an ice puck, and it's so much fun in terms of the gimmick, and it's a fun one to play with people. I always see, just because it's hilarious of how the ball moves. Sometimes it can be a bit frustrated when you're playing on the grass and it just hops up or it stops dead and such. But I love the mechanic. I think it's great. What I really like about this course, and it's such a small thing, is where the start is that once you put the first hole, then it's where the lair then opens, and then you go down into the lair, right? Because you start from the outside, and I love that idea. And yeah, the puffins are hilarious. They're so funny, like plotting the next like demise of the world and such, and it's so funny. But yeah, just like you, just to echo on what you said, I really like the ice rink hole. Smacking that as hard as you can, and then if you get it close, it's really satisfying. The submarine holes, I found it. I thought it was pretty cool. There's a lot of holes I really do like. I don't think there's many holes that I don't like. I do like the one where you start from the top and you have to go all the way around on the bottom, and once again you can hit it as hard as you can. And there's also a hole in there where I think it's on hard mode, where you kind of need to avoid getting into ice. Like you can choose, like there's like an ice thing, that's like ice drone, shall we say, that's patrolling the course, and you kind of want to avoid it, because if you turn into ice, then the course becomes a little bit harder, and you have to go a different path. That's a really fun one to do. I really like Ice Lair. And once again, this is a tough one. Like I said, if it was against Laser Lair, I'm picking Ice Lair every single time. But if it's against Sweetopia, I think just because I think Sweetopia is very underrated, but I just think because of how fun this Ice Lair mechanic is, I think I'll swing with Ice Lair, but I'm not sure if I'm too happy about that decision. How about you?
I am pleased picking Ice Lair over Sweetopia.
Yeah,
I do love them both, but Ice Lair is definitely a preference of mine.
okay, very well. Okay, we both picked Ice Lair rather. I know the folks who play Walkabout really competitively don't really like Ice Lair as much, just because of it's very difficult to predict exactly how the ice.
Yeah.
But just on the fun factor, I agree. Okay, so moving on to the next one, we've got Widow's Walkabout versus El-dorado. A very good matchup here. Samson, let me start with Widow's Walkabout here. Widow's Walkabout is basically they've taken the concept of original Gothic and they went all out. Let's go straight into horror, rather than just dance around the Halloween themes. And it is really good. Like, it's really good. The only reason why I don't play this course as much is because that the random doll that keeps popping up really creeps me out. It really, really creeps me out. And obviously you got the spiders in there, but thankfully you can turn off the spiders in there. But yeah, this course.
I wish you could turn them up.
You're a sicko. That's what I say. Anyway, it's a fantastic course. I once again love the way that you start outside and you come into the manor. The eeriness of the course where things are moving, like ghosts and such. I really like the whole that you're on the table with the plates and the plates move and such like that. That is really cool. And then obviously coming outside and going back in, going behind the bookshelf is a really cool idea for a course. And then as you just travel up, it gets scarier and scarier. You have that room where you have all of the dolls, and then in hard mode, all the dolls are decapitated and all their heads are like moving. And like, wow, they've gone all out with this one. And the fact that you have the telescope and you can look through it in easy mode and you see the house, and then you look through it in hard mode and you've got someone right there and such. This course is fantastic. It's a really good one. The only reason, like I said, I don't play it is because of the doll. But without that, it's a really fantastic course. I can play this with people. Playing it on my own, I get too scared. I'm a wuss. I accept that. But yeah, I really like this course. How about you, Samson?
This is one where the gimmicks sort of work against it, because I'm just not often in the mood for a full-on Halloween theme. A couple things I really like in God mode, how you can see the ghosts flying around. Yep. I think this is one of the first courses, or the only courses, where the actual like floor moves, kind of deal. Yep. Like, it really shapeshifts some of these holes.
Yeah.
I do love the vibe. The black and whiteness in hard mode is such a cool idea. Ultimately, I don't often want to be in a black and white world, though. So
I forgot about that, but that's a really cool.
Again.
It was really cool, though.
But yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah.
And I like that they're brave enough to push those boundaries and to do that. It's definitely a very fun one. It's not one I go to very often, mostly because of this Halloween theme. And this is one I feel bad having it so low on my rankings. I have it down at 21. I tried feeling it out in my top 15, but ultimately it is settled down there, a bit lower on my ranking, if you will. And then it is going up against El-dorado. Would you like to start that one?
El-dorado, I remember when we did our ranking of hard mode, maybe a year or two ago. We've done the podcast for a long time now. The El-dorado hard mode is still one of my favorite, if not my favorite hard mode. The rain and now the lightning as well really makes you feel cold and immersed in that world. It's so cool when you go into that. But even in easy mode, I just like the jungle like wasteland that you have in that one. The only thing that I'd probably denote, I'd probably mark down for is that I don't think there's any like super iconic hole in this whole course. Maybe the second one with the monkey eating and such, and the alligator and such, but for me, I don't think there's a super iconic hole. But I love this course. It's a course that I play very often. Hard mode is hard. It's pretty hard mode. That's why my least favorite hole is actually the second hole, because I think it just comes too soon, where on the easy mode you have to time it right with getting it into the monkey's hands, and then the monkey eats the ball, and then it goes into the green. And then hard mode, it's that system, that robot's completely broken, and you just got to hit it up the ramp. And I just feel like hole 2, you're not warmed up enough. And I'm I did when I went into practice mode yesterday to play some of these courses to get a refresher, I actually did it first time. But like when I'm normally when I'm playing it, nice, I always have a tough time on hole 2. So I just feel like it just comes a bit too soon. But hole 9 is definitely my favorite on both courses. This is where you have to like snake down the actual hole, and there's opportunities where you can kind of like get it close to the hole after one shot, or try and do a trick shot to get there, which is it's hard to do, but it's definitely achievable. But I really like the atmosphere of this course. There's a lot of clever holes in there. I like the one where you have to go up the like ramp, and then you have 3 holes. 2 of them will get you to the green, but the third one, which is in a bit more of a dangerous spot, will get you a hole in one, at least on the easy course. And that one's a really fun one that they've put in. But yeah, and then obviously water gets involved in the hard version when the rain comes down. So yeah, I really like this course. Just the lack of iconic holes maybe puts it down in my books. But yeah, this is the one that, to be honest, when I did my top 15, I automatically put this one at first immediately, because it's the one that I do play a lot. But as I've like gone through each one of these courses, it's going down a little bit in my list. But yeah, I do love this course. So yeah, that's my thoughts on El-dorado. How about you?
El-dorado is definitely one of my favorites that I like to be in. It's a very hard one, not for the not strong-willed, weak-willed, if you will. I think one of my favorites is hole 6, mostly for its erect shape.
Nice.
But there are some holes I do. I feel like most of the holes I don't mind. This monkey hand hole, particularly on hard, I don't really like. I do feel like this course starts you out really hard. Even that hole 1, where you gotta bounce it off the wall and try and get it over there. And on hard, I think it's on a ramp.
Yeah,
right?
the holes
automatically. Yeah. Exactly. It's on a hill.
Yeah.
But I just love the vibe of the rainstorm with the flares all around. This is one that I just love being in.
Yeah.
So El-dorado does pull out ahead above past Widow's Walkabout for me.
Yeah, I agree. So El-dorado moves past, and who will it face? The next one is Temple at Zerzura versus Around the World in 80 Days. Samson, do you want to start off here?
Yeah, Temple Zerzura, one of my favorite courses. I love the scale. I love the sand. I know Gilman hates this course. The sand's tough. I feel it's completely the opposite. I think my favorite grouping of holes is the map room 10 and 11.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that the hidden ball there is also on the big scale.
Yeah.
Spoilers there. But this one came out quite some time ago, April 20th, 2023. So if you haven't played it yet, get to it. Also, I can't believe you've been listening to this podcast this long without playing this game. And my least favorite is number 4. It's the big one with all the clutter.
Yeah.
I just often struggle with this one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. But
I also do like the one where you have to hit it straight and
that's the one I really
down.
like. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
That's the one.
But go on. I knew you'd like that one. So
because I mentioned it for Alfheim, but Yeah, this one, it's an interesting one because you start off straight into the sand, and hole 2 is very difficult to get start off with. Once again, just like kind of
With that huge
El-dorado,
ramp.
yeah, especially because the sand feels very different to the sand in Shangri-La. Shangri-La's sand is more of a hazard to stop you dead, where in this one, you're kind of using it for pacing purposes and such, and it just feels very different. I like that the fact that fox hunt is like you have like a UV light on your club, and you have to find the paw prints
It's a nice touch.
and all the different hieroglyphics, I guess, or the different symbols and such. That's really cool. I yeah. It's the Temple of Zerzura is a course that I don't go back enough, and I don't know why. It's just something that for some reason I just don't play. Maybe it's more of the Egyptian aesthetic. I'm not inclined compared to some of the other lost cities. I'm not too sure, but it's a really solid course, and I do like the way the 18th hole is. I do like the way you can find the cat or the Sphinx, shall we say, or such, where it's kind of hidden and you just got to go exploring. And on the 18th hole on hard is really special because it's different than the 18th hole on easy. Like it's very different. Like the 18th hole, so the 17th hole and the 18th hole kind of merge, and then the 18th hole becomes a whole new hole that didn't exist at all in the easy mode and such. So yeah, I think this one's a fun one. Like I said, with the UV lights, it's really nice. The sand can be quite difficult. And like you said, the map room's awesome. I love the fact that you have like a little mini course that you're playing basically like a bird's eye version of that course, and it's really fun to do. But yeah, I do like Temple of Zerzura, but I must admit it's one that I haven't gone into often unless we're like playing as a group, and I don't know why it's in my top 15 for sure. But I'm actually it comes in at 15th overall. But yeah, it's just something that I haven't played too much. How about Around the
It's
World?
much higher on mine.
How about Around the World?
Around
in
the
80
World
days?
in 80 days. So this is one where I didn't end up listening to the book. I got less into this one than I did Journey to Center
Sure.
Earth, to say the least.
You enjoyed the film though. You enjoyed the movie.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I did enjoy the movies, both of them really. So hole 4 with the luggage, where it kind of goes up and down, always crushes me.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. I'm not the biggest fan. And then hole 14, the moving carpet,
Yeah.
can really just jump off a ledge because that is a tough one. Yeah, I just want to point out that hole 9 is sort of the ramp, but they finally did a ramp properly because it has levels that you can you don't always roll all the way back down. And hole 10 is I particularly like because you're up in the sky and just for scale and all that. It's quite nice. It's quite nice to go up the Eiffel Tower. I will say that was a good touch. It's a nice world to be in. Ultimately, it falls a little short versus Temple of Zerzura for me.
I do love this course in terms of aesthetics. I do, being on the Eiffel Tower, I mean, you start off with the elevator, of course, and then you go up to the top, and it's so charming. This course, it's so beautifully done. I like quite a lot of these holes. Like you said, I like the where you start advancing off the Eiffel Tower, and then you eventually come back on or onto like a little hot air balloon, and then you go over the ramps, and the ramps move and such. Is really cool. There's a couple of frustrating holes on this one, but overall, I do really like it. The one that you're on, like the pool table, that's an interesting hole because that's the way they've done it. It's just like you can kind of get it into any hole and it will go in. But then you've got in the next section where the 18th hole is for the easy mode, you have the window looking completely down, like the glass window, and that's really cool that they've done that. And then I like the fact that once again the 18th hole on hard is very different, albeit a little bit odd, where you just have to hit it and then it goes onto this absolutely gigantic green. But there's nothing else going on there. It's just it's a bit different to Kyoto Valley, where like you do the same thing, but there's like you got the trees and the obstacles and such. Where it's just a massive green and such. it is a course that I would put this over Temples of Zora just because I play this a lot more. I really love the aesthetic and Temples. I think Temples of Zora, like overall, maybe have the better holes if I remember correctly. But around the world, I just love the aesthetic more. So I think this is the first one that we properly disagree with, conflict on. So I'm going to choose around the world. You choose Temples of Zora. Let's go. I mean, we used Dave last time. Let's go to Parody for life. Let's see what she put in, and we'll use her options. So
I agree because Dave actually picked 80 days. So let's see what Parody said.
Fair enough. Okay, so Parody for life. She picked Around the World in 80 Days as well. Around the World. What?
Really beating that
She
one.
didn't put any reasons. I didn't ask her to be fair. But do you want to read what Dave said? Why you picked 80 Days over Zerzura?
Yeah, sure. I'll read what Dave said. He said, "This was another very close one. Thanks, Dave. At least that gives me some solace. This one again fell to the music. I find myself almost dancing when I'm waiting for the others to take their turn, and I like that. I don't never mind when I miss a shot. The music just makes me happy."
That's how nice is that? How nice is that? So okay, Around the World, I guess it makes it through. We've got two more here, and then we'll wrap up for part one because I know this is quite a long part. Okay, we got Myst versus Labrynith. Samson, I can't remember who went first last time, but
allow me to introduce myself. My name is Samson, and I'll talk about Myst here. Myst is full of puzzles. I like this one. I like being in the world of Myst. Myst was never a game I got into playing, the real Myst.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like how unique this one is, where you're having to hit the things on the floor and they're changing different aspects of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that you can do the things like in the real game where you can make that boat come up. You can make the really big boat come up out of the water.
Yeah.
Those are really just cool world effects. I can't think of one in particular. Oh, not aquarium. The
clock.
When you have to look at the stars in the room, and that's how you learn which patterns to hit. Yeah, which things puzzle to hit. The map is kind of tough.
It is
to learn, but once you learn the puzzles, you get them.
Yeah.
Myst is a good one to spend some time in my opinion. It's one that I don't play nearly enough. It's middle of the pack for me in my ranking here.
Yeah.
And but I do enjoy it. I do enjoy it. It just doesn't really stand out for me.
It's funny because both of these courses I did a top 15 just on the side, aren't in the top 15. Like both of these courses aren't in the top 15. And the only reason why is, let me go into it. Myst, I think Myst is a phenomenal course in terms of what they've done with it. Myst is a ridiculously hardcore puzzle game, and they have nailed it with what they've done with the physics and with. I mean, the fact that you can just get this one, you can get two different putters, right? With this one, three different putters is so cool. Where there's different endings in a way of the way you can do it. I thought it was two, but it might be three.
No, it might be two.
Yeah, two. You can get multiple putters. Multiple putters. Yeah,
nail it.
Yeah, I can't replay the Fox Hunt, so I never remember that one. But you get multiple putters. A lot of these holes are really cool to do. Like the one that you mentioned, for example, when you're in that room and you got to get the right pattern. I really like the one that's super long. That you're going towards the. Is it towards the rocket? Yeah, the rocket ship. Thing? Yeah, you're like really.
The bends.
Yeah, you got it, and you can hit it as hard as you can. I really like the clock tower one, where it's on the water, and you got to hit the path at the right kind of speed, so each platform comes up at the right time, and like it's very difficult to get it perfect in one shot, but it is doable as well. That's a really fun one. I found the Fox Hunts really fun, and finding the golf balls are really fun in this course as well. I do love Myst. It's just that the reason why I haven't put it in my top 15 would just be because I just don't play it. I just don't play this one as much anymore. But I think the gimmicks and in terms of like all the puzzles are a really cool aspect, and they absolutely nailed the aesthetic. And the fact that there's also Easter eggs where you can like in the middle courtyard, you can press the buttons and such, and then the ship appears in the middle as well in the little fountain is really cool. But yeah, it's. I understand why we mentioned at the start with Parody for Life says, well, I don't know if we mentioned it. Maybe we did it off air, but we'll mention it anyway. Parody for Life said Myst is her favorite course, like favorite course ever. She says she loves everything about it. She loves the environment. She loves the holes and the added difficulty of hitting or not hitting the switches. All of the interactions, both on the holes and the environment, are so good. It's her favorite course, and I understand why. It's so freakingly well done, if that makes any sense. It's so well done.
Yep.
But yeah, Samson, how about you? What do you think about Myst?
No, that's how I've already told you what I felt about Myst.
Oh, did you tell you
Labrynith?
I mean, Labrynth. It's been a long
Let me
part.
tell you about Labrynith. Yeah, it has been a long part, and I have to use the bathroom. But just one match after this, I think I can wait.
Yeah.
Labrynth. So this was a movie I had never seen before this course came out, and then we watched it obviously all together. And the movie's weird, and the course is weird to go with the movie.
It is, yeah.
And I kind of like it. They kind of tried some new gimmicks, like where they're changing into gravity. And I love the 18 where you hit into the crystal ball. I love how they hide things, like you're going through the whole movie.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like you're in whole different worlds.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Meow Wolf vibe where they just like kind of hid the graphics behind the things.
Yeah.
There's legit a whole labyrinth that you could get lost in. I do love the stink, where if you hit it in the stink, your ball's smelly
for a bit. Yeah.
the whole rest of the course.
Yeah.
Yep. The hill hole, though, I hate this hill hole. All hill holes can go to hill.
Yeah, they can go to hill. They're really, really difficult. And this one's a tough one. This one's a really tough one.
With those rocks.
With those, yeah, exactly. I think they, once again, just like how I said with Myst, I think they absolutely nailed Labrynth. In terms of like matching the IP perfectly. I mean, like you said, we watched the movie in big screen just before we played it without watching it, and then we watched it, and it was like, wow, they actually did nail all the Easter eggs, all the aesthetics. Really well done. The whole 3 for me can be a bit difficult, where you have to go around the kind of perimeter of the labyrinth a little bit. Yeah. That could be a bit frustrating, but once again, another cool one where like the whole after that has like the platforms that are open and close and such. And once again, it's about timing. And then once you get into the actual town, it's so beautiful the way they did it. Labrynth, once again, both of these courses, they treated the IP, they did the IP justice, and that's why I'm really excited for Walkabout's Wallace and Gromit one in the next week, because I feel like they're going to do it just as much justice as they did with Myst and Labrynth. But yeah, for those reasons that we spoke about, I'm going to go for Myst on this one. How about you?
Yeah. So I had Labrynth number 14 and Myst number 16, but once again, I'm pulling the upset here because Myst, I'm just going with my gut here. Myst pulls a little bit ahead. I do love them though; they're both good ones. Yeah,
I think just with the fact that how much time they've spent with making those puzzles just fit, that must be ridiculously difficult, and they pulled it off so perfectly with the puzzles. I think it's well deserved. I think Myst beats quite a few of these courses on a head-to-head level just because of that specific reason. All right, final one, and then we can all go for a washroom break here.
I'll give a recap after this final one too.
Yeah, we'll do a recap after. We'll do a recap in part 2 to start off part 2. So we got Cherry Blossom versus Venice. Obviously, Cherry Blossom, the updated remaster just came on, and it is phenomenal. We talked about it at length in just a few episodes prior to this. Okay, so I won't do too much on this one, but I've always liked Cherry Blossom even prior to the remaster. I think it's very relaxing. It was actually definitely out of the original courses, it was always my favorite one out of the original courses. I know a lot of people love Seagull Stacks, but Cherry Blossom just edged it for me. The music's instant relaxation, but also the Japanese garden does make you feel really
vibe.
zened out, shall we say. The only thing I don't like about this hole, actually, there's a couple of holes that I don't like, is the 18th hole can be so cruel on the hard mode, especially if you miss it. Hole 4 I don't like on either easy and hard, because hole 4 is one of those holes that you kind of need to waste a couple shots, just kind of set it up just to go over the little edges, to get in the narrow edges, right? And on hard mode, it's incredibly hard to do that. I'm not a big fan of those. On easy, you can get away with it. On hard, it's like pretty bad because you might have to kind of waste the shot. Tethys Station has a problem with that on its 18th hole as well. But my favorite hole is the 16th. On easy, you've got the bamboo there, and now with the remaster, you got a sound effect when you hit the bamboo as well, which is really fun. And then on hard, it's a little bit different with the different ledges, but I still really enjoy it as well. So yeah, Cherry Blossom is really cool. How about you?
Cherry Blossom, love the vibe, but ultimately this has some of my more frustrating holes that I find. 14, where it's got the two wood pieces that you're going up levels, I really don't like that one. And then hole 18, I really don't like 18 on easy or hard. I do like the lily pad jump, because if you hit it straight and you nail that one, kind of like Arizona Modern, where with the half pipe, where if it goes in, that one feels really good. But yeah, I do like the vibe of Cherry Blossom and the update, the playing the instruments and the sound effects. It's a good vibe. It is a good vibe. It has slowly moved down my ranking, but it's still in there, middle of the pack. And how do you feel about Venice?
Venice is such a beautiful course. They did it so well. Going into the markets where all the fish and such are, I love that aspect of it. The fox hunt's fun, and also the finding the balls are really fun in terms of just like there's a ball which is like a meatball on a pizza, for example. Speaking of pizza, there's a little area on the 18th hole where you go and you see the pizzas cooking in the oven, and then I've not had breakfast yet. We're recording this quite early, and then go. After when you're in 18th hole, the pizza's all burnt because cooking too long and such. No, Venice I really like. It's a really nice course. I think it's a very fair course. I think all of the holes are pretty fair. I personally don't find any holes frustrating or anything like that, but they do offer a good level of challenge at the same time. I think it's a very safe course. I think it's more like an Alfheim in a way, where I feel like it's a very, very safe kind of like, it feels like an original course, but then it has that beautiful charm of the Venice. And I don't know about these cities like Venice and what's the other one? Around the World in 80 Days, where you're in Paris and such. There's something about being in those European cities give me, I don't know, maybe because I am European, gives me that cool vibe. And I really enjoy
England.
I really enjoy playing this. No, I'm not even counting EU. England, sorry. England. London has a bit of a culture, but most of England.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's the reason why I moved. But Venice just has a specific charm to it, and I really love this. It's the aesthetics that really push this over the edge, and we'll get into it after you give your reasons. But it's the conflicting thing about Cherry Blossom and Venice for me is that I like Cherry Blossom's course more than Venice, but I like Venice's aesthetic even more than Cherry Blossom. And that's surprising to me because Cherry Blossom's 5 in my list and Venice is 15 in my 10 in my list. So, I ranked Cherry Blossom higher personally, but I'm having conflicting thoughts. So you tell me what Venice is like whilst I decide.
Yeah, Venice is one. It's very new, so I haven't played it quite as extensively as the others. It is one that I do love the vibe. I do love the cities, even though I did pick Temple Zerzura over 80 Days. I love them all. We all know. And I do love Italy. I love the vibe here. I love the sounds of the city. I can't really think of a particular hole that I really didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't tell, I really have to use the bathroom, and I'm going to pick Venice over Cherry Blossom. It is
Samson,
close.
I'm
They're
gonna,
both
I'm
in my
gonna.
teens. They're both in the teens for me.
I feel like this is the hardest. I feel like this is pretty hard. I know you need to use the bathroom. I need to use the bathroom too. Cherry Blossom, Venice. Cherry Blossom, Venice. I think I'm going to go Cherry Blossom. I really like Venice, but I think because Cherry Blossom is the OG course, it just got remastered, and it's one that I always go back to. I think. I mean, come back to part 2 after we've both gone to the washroom. I might change my my
There's
idea.
no changing, but I will.
There's no changing. It's on the board now.
I will
It's
read
on the board.
Dave's. I will read Dave's because we do have a tie
Go
here,
on.
right?
No. I chose. Oh yeah, you just true. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. I chose Cherry. You chose Venice.
You
So
really
continue.
need to pee. All right. So Dave said probably the toughest match of all bracket. Either one could be in the finals. Ultimately, Cherry is what I consider my home course. Even before the remaster, it would have been close, but after, I really have to go with Cherry. So there you have it.
I totally agree with that. I think this is incredibly close. All right,
Well
that
said,
will do
Dave.
for part 1. That was our biggest round, our round 1. Obviously, in part 2, we'll get into round 2 and maybe the finale as well. But we will see you then.
Hey, we know public lobbies in VR games can be a bit toxic, feel a bit empty at times. That's why we created the Let's Talk Oculus Discord, a friendly community that you can join for multiplayer meetups, general VR chat, the game, and chat about VR, fitness motivation, and there's even a very impressive 3D printing channel. Join over 100 of our community members in the Let's Talk Oculus Discord for free. The link is right in the description.
All right, welcome back to part 2, where we continue on this walkabout bracket. We're into round 2, but Samson, let's give a quick recap for anyone who's paused it or stepped away from the podcast. What happened in part 1? What do we have in the first half of the bracket?
All right. In the first half of the bracket, we had Alfheim take off against Original Gothic, where Original Gothic pulled away pretty early. So Original Gothic will face Tethys Station in this first round matchup. But also, recapping, we had Bogeys Bonanza eke out over Arizona Modern. We had Upside Town upset Gardens of Babylon. And then in the bottom half of that bracket, we had Seagull Stacks overcome Laser Lair. And we had The Journey to the Center of the Earth eke out over Shangri-La. I believe we needed Dave or Parody for that one.
That's absolutely right. And then on the second half of the bracket, we have Lair beat Sweetopia, so it'll be facing Atlantis. We had El-dorado beat Widow's Walkabout to claim the next round against Around the World in 20. I just put Around the World, and I was like, what is Around the World? Around the World.
How many days did they do
Around
it
the World in 80 Days, who beat out Temple at Zerzura. Myst faced Labrynith, and Myst eventually won to play Quixote Valley. I like how we're pretending like it's a soccer or something. Cherry Blossom beat Venice to go into the next round against 20,000 Leagues Under the Sun, which was arguably, actually, there was no argument about it. That was the hardest one to decide. We got stumped on that one.
That was a tough one.
And we needed assistance. Okay, Samson, let's get straight into round 2. We got Tethys Station versus Original Gothic. I think everyone knows already what we're going to pick in this one, but let's show some love for Tethys Station. Samson, what do you got to say about Tethys Station?
Yes, Tethys Station, I believe, is my least favorite of all the courses. It takes place in space, which is cool. It does have that going for it. It's got some unique holes that involve going over space. And, you got to cover holes. It's got some weird holes to me. And although I like the idea of it was at 18 where you go through the brackets and you start with
you
4
go around,
and then it takes them away. That's That's cool. It reminds me of those coin machines. I'm kind of into that. That of all the gimmicks of the course, that's one I kind of like. Not so much that I enjoy it, but I like that they went there.
Yeah. Rather than just getting into the hole and there's no there's something incentivized on how you play that hole. Yeah, absolutely.
And then the loop-de-loop. I'd love to hate the loop-de-loop. The loop-de-loop's a cool idea. And we were always like, what if we could hit it up the loop-de-loop? They gave it to us, and it sucks. But we have it, and there it is.
The loop-de-loop's fun because it reminds you of Sonic, but at the same time, there is a way to...
Easy mode is
because easy mode, you can also like get away with I think not hitting it or just like having it just fall down and such, and it'll be fine.
Easy mode, well, you can on either. Easy mode has sort of walls though, so it won't fall off. Whereas hard mode, you have to hit it perfectly to do that. But I usually tend to hit it over the ramp, like off of it.
Tethy Station was it's a special course for me because it is. When I got into Walkabout, I never had the Quest 1, so I got into it Quest 2, and Tethy Station was the first major new course. You know, I think Original Gothic obviously came out for like holiday season, but the first one for me was Tethy Station as like a new one, and that's why it's like special. It's like, oh wow, it's in space, and it was so different and unique in terms of how the holes are. I think as the Mighty Coconut team have kind of matured in the way of like what they're doing with their courses, and that they're on a whole new level now. This definitely suffers because I think, like you mentioned, and like everyone has mentioned, I think the course design just suffers in this one. It seems fun on paper, but it is very difficult. But I say that, and there are a few holes that I do really like. Like I really like the, and these are more maybe for aesthetics than anything, but I do really like when you're in like the greenhouse and you've got all the plants all around you and such, and you can kind of cut the corner to try and go over there. I like the little maze one that you have on one of the holes, which is similar to Tourist Trap. It's like Tourist Trap, a Tethy Station version of that Tourist Trap hole where you got like 3 or 4 different slots you can put it in, and you put it into one of them and it goes to the place that you really want it to be, closer to the hole and such. I like that hole, but yeah, there's a few holes that are like incredibly difficult. I think the reason why also Arizona Modern I was not a huge fan of some of those holes is because of the ones that you kind of have to hit on the edge and then they drop down to another platform and then they drop down. I always have a tough time with that, and
this one has
exactly right, and that's why I said like I think Arizona is like the younger sister or younger brother or whatever or a younger sibling, or at least a cousin. They're related to Tethy Station. I feel like they're kind of cut from the same cloth, but Tethy just takes it to a whole new level of shots you have to play. I like the idea of the floating kind of platforms, the floating greens, and you have to hit it over to each green, and you can try and cut the corners and such. But on hard mode, it is incredibly hard.
That one on the main?
The one that's around the It's a tough course overall. I'm not gonna lie, I play this course more than a few other courses on the list, but once again, I agree with what most people say, to be honest, and this is definitely in my bottom 5 basically. I love the aesthetic though. I do love the space, and they might come around and do maybe a remaster to it. I don't think it needs it, but I think Original Gothic should be probably the last remaster that they need to do. But I wonder if they remastered Tethy's, if they would change up a little bit of the holes to make them. I don't know. We'll see.
I'd be
surprised too.
I feel like they'll only remaster the first 4.
First 4. I think that's why I think the Original Gothic's kind of cut from the same cloth as the first 4 in terms of graphics and such. So
it was 5.
That I could see them probably doing that one as well. But I think that's it, Max. But and then obviously Original Gothic we've talked in length. So Samson, I'm assuming we're both aligned here, and we're going to choose Original Gothic.
Well, actually, I think I'm going to surprise everybody, and I'm going to pick Original Gothic here.
You almost surprised me, and I don't know why. Okay, Original Gothic moves forward. Next course is Bogeys Bonanza versus Upside Town. Samson, we've already spoken at length of both these courses, so I think we should kind of go straight in. And the reason why I'm picking Bogeys Bonanza is just, as fun as Upside Town is, and it grows on you because it's a very unique course. When it's up against a giant like Bogeys Bonanza with its beautiful aesthetic and beautiful course layout, there's only one winner here. I don't know if you have much to add to that, but
well, listen, Upside Down, it's got a rat that eats your pizza. It's got a Ninja Turtle. Yeah. It's got some pigeons. You play with gravity. It's got some cool, unique things, right? It's got a very nice vibe. It's got a great aesthetic. But ultimately, Dan, I agree that Bogeys Bonanza is ekes it out. It's a bit more fun. It came down to the final 2 minutes of this one, and but Bogeys pulled it out.
It came down that close to you for you. I thought Bogeys had a strong 2-0 lead and at halftime.
But yeah. No, the game went back and forth, wild swings. It was crazy.
That's fair. Okay, let's move right along because obviously we've spoken about those courses. Let's speak about a new course, i.e. the oldest course, Tourist Trap versus Seagull Stacks. I think this is a very difficult one. Samson, what do you got to say about Tourist Trap, the OG course?
Tourist Trap. What can you say that hasn't already been said? It is the course to show new players. It is the first course I ever played in this game. I hold it so near and dear. It's so much fun. It's got hole 18 that you can just skip, and I hole in one for the first time this week. And boy, oh boy, did it feel good.
That's impressive. That's impressive.
Yes,
it's not. It's not. I was about to say it's not difficult. It is very difficult to get a hole in one on that one. And yeah, you sent me the video, so you can post on the Discord if you want to. If anyone says that you didn't do it, you have the proof.
Yeah, right. But I love its simplicity. I love the fact that you can essentially hole in one all these. I almost yearn for this sort of simplicity again, like Alfheim. Alfheim was a step in that direction. I want another intro course. I want a course that's not Tourist Trap, maybe a different type of theme that's not piratey or whatever, but something else that's that simple. Yeah. Like the first hole in Tourist Trap, it's just straight there. You know what I mean? It's your typical first
I can
hole.
see one day they make the practice course like officially a course at some point potentially, or using that kind of aesthetic and such. That'll be cool. I would love that too if they went back to like a Tourist Trap and made like a standard simple course. If they kind of did the same, we kind of try to touch on that with Alfheim and a couple of the other courses in there with not having specific physics and such, but obviously they have beautiful aesthetics. But yeah, to go back to basics and have something as good as Tourist Trap, I think Tourist Trap is such a beloved course, and it's not only because it's the first course that pretty much everyone would play. I'd be surprised if someone jumps into something else other than that, but it's just such a good introduction to the game, like such a good introduction. Like the holes are simple enough, yet they have a few bits of challenge to them. It kind of introduces you to try and go for it on a couple of these holes as well. And like, wonder if I can try and hit one rock and do this and do that. And it kind of encourages you. There's one hole specifically in the caves where you can go over the really thin wooden plank, or you can go around, and that kind of already encourages you in later holes to kind of like go for it and do trick shots and all sorts like that. It's such a perfect opening course. Obviously, if this course comes out in the midst of all of these new ones, then maybe it doesn't get as highly rated. But because it's the first course and it does what it needs to do well, it's such a great course, and that's why it's hard putting it against Seagull Stacks, because of course Seagull Stacks is a better course in terms of how evolved it is. And they kind of did the difficulty right in the first 4 courses. Like Tourist Trap was the easiest. Like it's very easy. Even hard is easy. And then you've got Cherry Blossom was a little bit harder. Seagull Stacks was just much harder. And then Arizona Modern could arguably be harder than Seagull Stacks at certain times with the unique type of holes that you can do, especially for a beginner. But yeah, they did this perfectly. Highlight of the Tourist Trap for me is when you go into the caves. I remember playing that for the first time, and I thought it was really cool because you're just different lighting and you're inside, and it's so cool. And sometimes I do just jump back and just play a bit of Tourist Trap. The only thing I would kind of falter it on, if I was going to falter anything after just saying it's pretty perfect, is that the music is exactly the same as the opening music when you're in the barn now with Tourist Traps, but obviously you want to keep it how it is. But I'd like a bit of variety if it was so. All right, Samson, let's decide Tourist Trap or Seagull Stacks to go through.
Well, Dan, this is a real coin flip, but I think ultimately, I just would go Seagull Stacks more often than I would go Tourist Trap.
I think that's a fair shout. I'm curious to see what other folks did. In fact, let's look at Parody for Life.
You want me to read Dave's right here?
Yeah, you go for Dave first, and I'll say Parody.
He also selects Seagull over Tourist Trap. He says Tourist Trap is a great here's how to play course that everyone comes to my house will play before they're allowed to leave. Yes, I really make everyone play that hasn't played before. Yeah. I just want something a little bit more challenging, and Tourist Trap is just a little too predictable at this point.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, Parody for Life actually chose Lair to go past Seagull Stacks, so
bold.
And then Lair beat Tourist Trap as well. So I say we agree with Dave and yourself there. I think the right pick is Seagull Stacks. I think Tourist Trap is amazing for what it does, but up against the two, I think Seagull Stacks as well. So I agree with you. All right, perfect. Let's move on to the last one in this bracket. We have Journey to the Center of the Earth versus Meow Wolf. Meow Wolf is obviously the course we haven't discussed yet. A course that is, if Upside Town is completely out there, Meow Wolf just takes that to another level, but in a slightly different way. And I kind of love it for that. You've got some really iconic holes in this course. You've got the air hockey hole where you're in this kind of like this other kind of world and this void. Yeah, you just like get sucked into an arcade kind of thing, and all of a sudden your ball turns into an air hockey puck, and you have to go around the course that way. And then there's another iconic hole with your ball where your ball is like massive and giant that way as well. Like it's so
the sheep hole.
The sheep, yeah, exactly. There's so many holes that are just out there, and then obviously when you click your map button, it just takes you to a different area of the course, which has kind of the map ingrained in its design. That blew
my mind the first time I played it. I turned around and I was like, wait a minute, I'm on the course.
Yeah, and the map is right in front of you. It's pretty impressive. And yeah, it's an interesting one because this is like I said, it's similar to Upside Town for me in terms of it's a course that I wouldn't go into often unless I really fancy playing that kind of golf game, that kind of like course. But it's really impressive in the way they've done the stuff. What do you think about Meow Wolf?
I don't think we mentioned the sphere that you hit, that the rainbow ball turns your ball into multiple balls.
That's wicked. That's really cool.
Love that effect as well.
Yeah.
Dan, I love all the gimmicks of Meow Wolf. Really, really. This one's a fun one. Super, super wild, artsy. All the animals flying around. The monkey guy or whatever.
Yeah.
The water on one of the early holes where you hit it and then the lily pad pops up.
Mm-hmm.
I love most all of these holes, even how weird they are. I almost love more because they're so weird and unique.
Yeah.
I like this one a lot, Dan. This one I think is in my top 10.
Interesting. Yeah, this one's actually not in my top 10. The only reason why is because I think it's that it seems like Upside Down. Like I said, it's a very unique type of course when you're in the mood, and I don't think I'm in the mood to play Meow Wolf as much as Journeys to the Center of the Earth, for example. It's funny because, like, in my head, if Shangri-La won the last round, Shangri-La beats Meow Wolf. Because Journeys beat Shangri-La and it's Journeys versus Meow Wolf, it's a little bit closer. And this is just the way the brackets work. Sometimes there's upsets and, it changes things. Out of the two, it's funny because, like, Journeys I also only play for a reason, because I like to play the hard mode to kind of go through the whole caves and such with the light. So for me, both of these courses offer like unique ways of playing. And I think I just like Journeys a little bit more. So I think that's my pick. What's your pick?
No, my pick is for certain Meow Wolf.
Because
of how weird it is. I like to lean into that. And I think it's just like, yeah, I love all the colors. I love them both. I do love hopping into Journey. But I do think I hop into Meow Wolf more often than I try to hop into Journey. And I mostly, even if it's just a practice mode and try some weird holes, I do love it. Although, do you remember searching for the Lost Ball on that arcade hole, on the air hockey hole? And how the Lost Ball is 2D? And that's why we couldn't find it.
No, I don't think I ever found it. I don't think I was with you because I don't think I ever found it in the end.
It took so long.
That's cool. That's really cool.
What did Parody
Parody actually went for Shangri-La to go through in this whole round. So taking what you would say the favorite out of that little bracket there. So let's go to Dave. What does Dave have?
Dave has Journey over Meow Wolf. Meow Wolf is, Meow Wolf, he says. There's a lot going on. Everywhere you look, there's something to see. While the portals and the mechanics, ball size, sheep herding, etc., are really cool, it is really just too much. Just way too much. And Dave, it is, and that's why I love it.
That's fair. I can see what kind of player Dave is, and I guess me and Dave aligned in this one. So yeah, Journey makes it through. So out of bracket one, we have Original Gothic versus Bogeys Bonanza, and then we have Seagull Stacks versus Journey to the Center of the Earth, which we will cover in part 3. But Samson, let's go into the second bracket now, and we're going to start off with Atlantis versus Ice Lair. Samson, tell me about Atlantis here, because I know that this is a course that it very much impressed when it first came out. So tell me what you think about that course.
For sure, specifically the hard mode. That hard mode blew my mind first time I saw it. All the neon lights, I just wanted to move in. I wanted to pack my bags and I wanted to move there and live there forever. Yeah, it's quite a lovely place. Some holes that I particularly like, the half pipe hole where you got to hit it up there and it kind of arcs up.
Oh yeah, there's like a third hole, I think.
Yeah, you remember that one. I don't really like is number 15. It's the one with the broken kind of floors, particularly on hard mode. Getting across is kind of tough. That and the eye, the one that you got to hit in the eye, I don't really like that one. That one's a tough one.
Yeah,
hole 18 always tricks me. I always think it's over, and it's never over. It just keeps going.
It does just keep going. Yeah,
but I love the bubbles in the hole. I love the whole vibe. Atlantis is very beautiful. It ends up somewhere in the middle of the pack for me, amongst all the other all the courses. No real gimmicks in this one, right? It's got a couple, like the eye one or things where you got to open and close. It's got with the hole one that spits it up and then it goes through.
Yeah, it's not like an overarching gimmick. There's just like different aspects per hole. Some holes are just normal. Some holes are like ramp. Some holes just have like you got the belly button and such, right? So you've
I don't like that one.
Yeah, hole number 4, I think. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
fair
do
enough.
like riding the animals. The animals are also very cool, like riding the whale or the shark
Yeah,
or
just jumping on
whatnot.
top, and then they just take you around the course.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I almost prefer all the non-golf aspects of this one.
of this one. I really like this course. The atmosphere, as you mentioned, and they absolutely nailed it. It's great in easy mode, and it really feels like you're underwater, and then they just destroy it with night mode, with the glow in the dark. Even the course feels like it's glow in the dark. Did your ball glow in the dark? I wrote that down, but maybe it doesn't. But
I don't think so.
I don't think the ball glows, no, but there's a glow
Maybe
on
in your
everything.
mind.
Yeah, maybe I've seen so much glow, I thought the ball glowed in the dark. But yeah, it's an absolutely beautiful course. There's so much going on. There's so many elements, and I actually haven't played this one for a while, and I jumped in yesterday when I was preparing for this podcast, and it still looks as beautiful as remembered. It's a fantastic course in terms of that aspect. I see what you mean. What I dislike about this course is there are some mean holes. Like it is a challenge. It is a challenging course in the end of the day. Hard mode
The
is
starfish one too.
Yeah, the starfish one I always find the most difficult one. My least favorite hole, actually, thinking about this, is hole 8. You said it exactly, with the ones with the glasses of the person basically with the glasses opening and closing, and you have to get it in the eye. I really don't like those kind of holes. We kind of spoke about it. They're normally on the 18th hole, but I don't like the holes where there's only one thing you can do in terms of hit it in this area, and if you don't do it, then you fail and you have to keep going for it. Think of like Cherry Blossom hole 15, I think, where there's a bamboo shoot, but if you miss it, you go into the water, but the water will still take you down to the bottom, which is great. Where this one, like, there's only one thing you can do, and I don't find it's very difficult to get it in, but I just don't like that hole. So yeah, that's not don't love this one at all. But my favorite hole is hole 7, and that's with all the little holes in the on the course itself, because they're kind of unpredictable. Like every time you jump in, you kind of forget which one does which and such, because there are so many of them. And I really like that aspect of it. I still remember playing it for the first time thinking, oh shoot, how do we get this past, not knowing that, if you get it in the hole, then it's just going to pop out somewhere. Yeah, so it's really cool. So I do really like this course. I understand why some people don't really like to play it over and over again, because it's really challenging. But I do really like this course. And let's take us to Atlantis versus Ice Lair. I think Atlantis overall is the better course. I really like Ice Lair's gimmick. I mean, we spoke about this in length in part 1 in terms of how fun it is. But as an overall course, and obviously the aesthetics and everything about it, I bump Atlantis just over Ice Lair, but I think it's closer than I would have ever predicted before. Now that I've really sat down and really thought about this, I would just edge Atlantis in this one. How about you?
Well, let me try to convince you of otherwise, Dan. Because though Atlantis is very beautiful, and that night mode is quite an aesthetic, and it's just cool to be golfing in the place of Atlantis. The ice cubes are so cool. There's puffins trying to plan your demise. There are the little heat things. The whole effect of your ball melting is very unique, very cool. When you're ice cube and you hit it into the cup, it sounds like ice in a cup. It is fantastic, I'd say. And overall, the gimmick is a very fun one to play with, and I don't think it overstays its welcome. And ultimately, Ice Lair is just more fun to play more often. And yeah, maybe I'm digging Atlantis for being a little on the hard side here. That does take away, I think, a little bit of its replayability. And maybe Ice Lair loses some replayability if you don't like the ice cube. But I like the ice cube, and I'm drinking it up, and I'm putting more ice in this cup. And I'd eke out Ice Lair. It is close, but did I convince you? Otherwise, we'll go to Dave.
I think I don't think we need to go on Dave. We can read Dave's out in a moment, but I think because of how close it is, for me, I don't mind picking Ice Lair instead in this list. So I don't mind doing that instead. I'm fine with that. It's the same as I guess a Cherry Blossom Venice. Like we could have gone either way. Yeah, I don't mind. You've convinced me. I'll go for Ice Lair. Like this could go either way for me as well, which is surprising. I think when I'm doing my ranking, for example, Atlantis is in my top 5, and Ice Lair is not even in my top 15. But when it's up against each other and we're talking about all of these elements and such,
yeah,
you're right. Like it is something really fun about Ice Lair, and even though on the surface level it might be like, oh no, of course it's Atlantis. Look how beautiful it is. It's fantastic. It's amazing. It's all about the fun in the game, and as much as I love Atlantis, I think it's fine. I like Slay you could put through. So yeah, let's go with that. Ice Slayer will go through. Let's read out Dave anyway. I think Parody for Life put in Sweetopia actually beat Ice Slayer and Atlantis. So for her,
sounds like we need Parody on this on one of these because she would be the perfect curveball.
I agree. Well, I'm sure we'll do something like this again in the future, and yeah, we should definitely have a third person at least.
We'll see how the listening goes.
Yeah. All right. Samson, go for it.
Dave. Dave had Atlantis over Ice Lair. A large part of what makes Walkabout Mini Golf successful is the environments they put you in. Atlantis is one of the best examples of that. Not only is it one of the most beautiful courses, day and night, but you feel like you are underwater. You feel like you're on the ocean floor. Mm-hmm. Plus, you get to ride the turtle, and he'll take you on a tour of the entire course. Very cool.
Yeah, and Gilman, this is also his favorite course, Atlantis. So I'm sorry, Gilman. He says his favorite course overall might be Atlantis because I love the aquatic themes. He says he loves all the courses pretty much, but he really hates Temple of the Zerzura because of the sand. He says it really frustrates him and such. So yeah, and I know Parody for Life is notoriously, she says she doesn't really like Atlantis personally. Everyone has their own opinion.
I do like Atlantis more than 20K as far as water levels.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Moving right along, we have El-dorado versus Around the World in 80 Days. Samson, we've talked length with both of these already, but let's try and talk about them against each other. For me, I think El-dorado is so good when it comes to its atmosphere and its course design, where Around the World in 80 Days, I really like the way it looks and such. The course design is fun to match that aesthetic, but I think El-dorado is just the better course just in general. It's a very strong course, so I think no matter what it comes against, like if Temple of Zerzura won against Around the World, I'd probably still pick El-dorado in this case. So I'm going for El-dorado. What about you?
Dan, I'm agreeing with you here. El-dorado takes the cake against Around the World in 80 Days.
Nice.
It ultimately comes down to that. I love being in that storm and the lighting on that and just the whole vibe on that. And though I faulted Atlantis for being a little hard, I'm for some reason feeling the opposite about El-dorado and its difficulty. It's like a more fun difficulty. I don't know.
It is different. It is different. Like it's if it's hard but it's challenging. I mean, the key word here is challenging rather than just being hard for the sake of it. That's the Tethys Station issue, for example. Yeah. I think Atlantis, although Atlantis is nowhere near hard for the sake of it compared to Tethys Station, I know what you mean. El-dorado is like challenging, but still really fun challenging. And Atlantis is challenging, but can be frustrating on a few holes. Where I don't think El-dorado has any frustrating holes apart from the second hole, and that's like I said, it's just because it's so early and I'm not warmed up yet. So it's more of a user thing than anything. So
yeah.
Fair enough. El-dorado takes the prize. We move down to Myst versus Quixote Valley. Quixote Valley we've not spoke about. Samson, what do you like about Quixote Valley? I keep saying Quixote Valley, but Valley. That's what I'm trying to say. Sorry, continue.
I love almost everything about Coyote Valley. I recently played this one. I play a weekly game Fridays, and it was the one we played recently. And then I went into the hard mode, and I played that again when we were discussing these. And
Yeah.
I love them all. I love it all. Even the one with the wind and the hole is in the wind and is so hard. It's such a good vibe. I love, you feel like you're in the Netherlands or something, all the sheep, all the
Mm,
windmills, hole
mm,
18 where you're just hitting it off into the vastness and it's blowing. It's blowing, it's blowing, you got to hit it that way and then it bounces around and
mm-hmm.
it's so much fun. I wrote down my least favorite hole is 14. I believe that's the hill one. Um,
I also put 14, by the way. I just said I generally don't like ones that are
yeah.
steep uphills, and we've spoken about that, right? So yeah.
Music's good in this one, but really I just love being in the world of this one. It is a really nice. I love that the wind comes in the second half of the like front 18 easy mode 18 rather. Um it's it's a fun one to be in. It's in my top 5, I think. I think it's going to pull ahead of Myst for me.
Yeah, without giving it away, it's also in my top 5. Coyote Valley is, just to echo what you said, basically, I love the atmosphere. I love um, the wind physics. I think the wind physics might be my favorite physic out
It's a
of
good one.
everything that
Yeah.
they've done. And I kind of wish that they add wind to more courses or such. I think, was it Laser Lair, or there's a specific course that has like a fan. There's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, I believe, has like a fan or a vacuum kind of thing. So it kind
Yeah,
of,
it's got 20K plays with
yeah.
winds
So it's
or
like
yeah.
on it, has a couple of those like kind of similar, but not. But I think the wind physics are amazing, and it really makes the holes really challenging. But then it also forces you to think creatively. Like you think of hole 11, where it's more of a simple hole, but because of the wind, you have to just hit the rock in the right place so it jumps up, and then the wind takes you to where the hole needs to be. I think that's a really clever idea. The only thing I don't like about the wind is that it's not on more holes. Like it's only on the back 9, and I would like in the easy mode. That's fair enough because you're going about your day, you're having a good time on the course, and then all of a sudden on 10 it just picks up, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm in the wind. But in hard mode, I would have liked to see the wind more in the course. Like you don't have to do it on every single hole. Maybe they tried that and it was a bit too much, but I would
Yeah.
like it more of be a mixture rather than just the back 9. Like have a mixture of oh, we're playing a couple of the same holes at the start, but now there's wind involved and it makes a big difference. But you don't have to have everyone, but a good mix would be quite nice. I disliked the 14th hole, like you said, but my favorite hole was hole 4, which is going through the house. There's so many
It's funny
favorite
you say
holes in
that
this. Yeah, go on.
because that's the one that I feel like is affected most, and there's no wind effect, but that house is totally different in hard
Yeah,
mode.
it is. Yeah, there's so much stuff all over the floor because of
Yeah.
potentially the wind and such. But yeah, you're right. But the whole floor is really cool because I've still never got it over the ramp, over the wooden ramp that goes up into the window. I've tried many times. I think
Uneasy.
maybe I got it once. I don't remember, but I definitely haven't. On easy, it's difficult. On hard, it's even harder because also
Yeah.
these items are on the floor. You don't know how they're going to react with the ball. Will they, like, if you hit it hard enough, would they bounce off like a rock, or will they not? And most of the cases they don't really. But so it's quite difficult. But it's cool just to go into the house. It's a really nice touch. I really like the fan one beforehand. But there's a loads on this course that I really like. But yeah, this is a fan favorite for me. I put a lot of people into this into this
It's a good
course,
one.
and yeah, really fun. Don't love the putter with the windmill on the putter as much, but obviously that's just a design aesthetic that doesn't resonate me. Like I really love Upside Down's putter. I think that's my favorite one that I've played with. So everyone's got their own different choice on there. But as good as Myst is with its puzzles, it's so clever and such. And I think out of the most gimmicky kind of courses, I think Myst might be the best one out of all of them in terms of how the level design is. You could argue with Ice Lair, as we've spoke about, but Coyote Valley has to go through for me in
Same.
here. And
I will say that Dave disagrees with us. He says, I like the colors of Coyote, but the shot placement of Myst just puts it over the top. The way you have to light up certain sensors, make every hole almost like lots of holes, really makes you think about your shot every time.
Very well. And then also Parody for Life, who was our second independent judge, shall we say. She also put Myst through, to be honest, over Kyoto Valley, who, so yeah, very,
Nope,
very
good thing they don't
different
run the
picks.
show.
Good thing that they don't run the show. Okay, so that's Kyoto Valley. Let's move on to the final one of this bracket. We got Cherry Blossom versus 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Under the Sea, yeah. Samson, we haven't spoken about 20,000
Under
Leagues.
the sea.
We haven't spoken about 20,000 Leagues. This is the first Jules Verne. This one's quite iconic for us because this is the first time we interviewed somebody from Mighty Coconut. We interviewed Edward in here, and we had in the actual 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and it was an hour long. Definitely have a look and check out that podcast. The video podcast is fun because we had friend of the show PJ from VR Verdict film that one. This is all very recent, so at the start of it we're quite far away, but you can still hear us just fine. But camera angles do get better in that video version, but you can see the audio. I can't remember which episode it was. It was probably like 80 something. But definitely check that one out. But yeah, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I really like this course. It's a course that, once again, I don't play as much as the other courses, but every time I do, I have a great time with it. I really love the big, I guess, submarine that you're in when you pull out and you can see it. And beautiful. Then in hard mode, it's even more beautiful. And that's where the big fish or the whatever you call it. I haven't read the book.
Kraken.
So the Kraken, yeah, is right there as well. A lot of standout holes in terms of I love the way that the dining room is in easy, and then in hard mode the dining room's completely trashed and such, and you have to kind of work your way around that trash as well. That was the first time that I've seen a whole course that does a telescope where you can look through and there's an item in this telescope on the second hole around there. You can see the Walkabout Island, which is also in our poster. Also, if you don't know, we have posters. Definitely check out the Discord merch. You can download the posters. We have 2 posters, and the second one is us flying into Walkabout Island, which you might be able to see behind me if you're on the video podcast. Go download them. Yeah, go download them. Go print them out. It's free. Just go for it. Have it on your wall. But yeah, I really like 20,000 Leagues. Do you have any thoughts on this? I know obviously this is a book that you have read or listened to at least, and really like.
Yeah, this was one I spent a lot of time listening to, taking in the story. I think I enjoyed the story more than I enjoyed the course, though I did love the course. It's a beautiful one to look at in God mode.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful one to play through. Ultimately, I don't really like the wind, how it uses the suction and the vacuums. Yeah. I'm not really the biggest fan of that mechanic, which is also in Sweetopia, which is also where I don't like it so much there.
Yeah.
This is one where I really like the vibe and the story of it much more than I enjoy playing it. Let me think of a particular hole. Is it like you mentioned, the dining room? I do like that one. The organ, where you gotta try to aim and hit it into the organ, is kind of a funky one. When you hit it, so the one where it's got a bunch of wind blowing things, and you gotta, if you hit it perfectly, the winds will let you snake through to the end.
Yeah.
That is fun when you nail it. But if you don't, it's F you.
That's fair. That's very fair.
Yeah, I do really like it. It's, gosh, is it? I don't think it's ultimately my favorite Jules Verne. I think that does go to Journey to the Center of the Earth so far. But it's a great course to play. It's a fun one. It's a great story. However, it loses to Cherry Blossom.
Okay, so as you were talking, I was really thinking about this, and I was actually going to give it to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I love Cherry Blossom, and I've gone against my whole, like, if we did a ranking, my ranking would be very different to what I've been talking about here, because Cherry Blossom is my 5th favorite course, and I love it so much. And I think 20,000 Leagues of the Sea is 14th in my list, and
Oh wow!
but for
I have
some
them both
reason.
bottom half.
Some reason when you put them against each other, I think the conversation changes, and I don't know, maybe Cherry Blossom edges it just because of the remaster. I think prior
I
to
was
the
just gonna
remaster,
say, I think remaster pushes it over.
yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm
It's
probably
beautiful.
inclined to agree with you, but 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, I think is just it's. I think also like it was the first course, right? That the Jules Verne, and I didn't have a clue on what to expect with this one, and it was so beautifully done. And it was the one where you kind of go, you kind of go into the ship, right? There's like a little bit of an intro
Yeah, there's
before
a
you
trip
get there,
before it.
right? And I think that was the first time they've ever done something like that.
Yeah, so
And
I'm
that
glad you
was
noted that. I wanted to note that too. That's good.
that was really cool when you get into there, you're in your own little vessel, and then you're in the actual submarine. However, I don't know what the ship's called in the actual book, but in the submarine, and it's such a interesting course in terms of like it's a really beautiful aesthetic, but then the course, the holes actually match that aesthetic really well. I think that's something that maybe Bogeys Bonanza kind of like falters on a few of the earlier holes where they feel like holes placed into the world, and it gets better in the back nine when you start going to the saloon and such like that. But I think some of the holes in the front nine is it feels like holes are just placed in this environment, where the holes in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, it feels like it's a part of the world that you're in.
In the Nautilus.
I think they do that really well. And like I said, in hard mode, when the ship is almost shipwrecked in a way, all of the holes and such change because of that. And even the 18th hole I don't love. It's one of those ones, once again, that at least in the easy mode, you have to kind of just go around and then hit it into this sphere, and then it just bang and it goes. But in the hard mode, I believe it's like a proper course, right? There's like you have to go through the Kraken and pot it into the hole afterwards, like that. So yeah, I think I'm going to stick with 20,000, Samson. We might need to go to unless you're convinced, we might have to go to Dave, because I think no, let's look at Parody first. Let's see if Parody got to here. Let me just have a look, because we've used Dave quite a bit.
Well, Dave has been agreeing with me, so he is the better choice a lot of the time.
We've gone with Dave quite a bit. Let's go to Parody here, because Parody differed from us a lot. Okay, Parody actually goes for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Wow.
She actually goes for 20. She did the same as us. She did Cherry Blossom beats Venice, and then Cherry Blossom versus 20,000, and 20,000 makes it to the semi-finals.
Well, let me tell you that Dave had Cherry over 20K, but he did say it was another hard choice. And he says if Cherry and Venice were in the semifinals, 20K would have had one of the other two spots. When 20K came out, it was a breath of fresh air. Courses had been getting harder and harder, and 20K just wasn't. It was back to the course that anyone could enjoy. It would have won if it hadn't been for the remaster of Cherry. And Dave, I'm right there with you. But here we are, outvoted by Parody and Dan.
Yeah, we could use Dave next time. We gotta go back and forth, otherwise, unless one of them was on the show. But yeah, okay, very very well. Okay,
so
sweet.
Dan, recap. Yeah, we had
Gothic beat Tethys, Bogeys beat Upside. So Gothic versus Bogeys in round 3. Seagull Stacks beat Tourist. Journey to the Center of the Earth beat Meow Wolf. So we got Journey versus Seagull Stacks. That's bracket 1. Bracket 2, Lair beat Atlantis. That might have been a big upset, by the way. Lair will be facing El-dorado, that beat Around the World. And then Quixote Valley beat Myst, which is going to be facing 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, who beat out Cherry Blossom. And that will do for part 2. In part 3, we will wrap this baby up and we will go through round 3 and the finale. So we will see you then.
Let's Talk Oculus is available on all good podcast platforms and some rubbish ones as well. If you want to see the video version, it's available on YouTube and Spotify. And also, if you love us so much, then consider throwing us $1 at patreon.com/Let's Talk Oculus. Back to the show.
All right, welcome back to part 3, where we've gone through this Walkabout bracket. We have narrowed it down with some potential controversial, some upsets, and some conflict, shall we say. We've got it down to the final 8 here. Samson, let's go straight into it. Let's go for round 3 for the first bracket, and we have Original Gothic versus Bogeys Bonanza. Samson, I'm going to start with you. I mean, who are you picking, and why are you picking this over the other one?
Well, round 3, fight.
That was really good.
I think.
Really good.
Thank you. I think I'm going with. You see, Dan, I've got a number one course on my list here, and my number 1 course happens to be right here, and it is Original Gothic, because boy oh boy, I do love me Original Gothic. I love the Christmas theme in the bottom when you get in the music. It's one I always have the music on. I love that disappearing body, the shadowy figure outside in the front top. There's a couple frustrating holes in this one. I'm not going to give it the I love every hole when you're inside and the holes on the hill that's got that really big steep incline. That one can be really tough.
Yeah.
But overall, I just love playing this one. It's not to say Bogeys isn't fun. Bogeys is a good time. It's great. We're in the top 8. All these courses are fantastic. They're, you know what I mean? They're in the top third of all of our list here. But I gotta go with Original Gothic. Although it is a themed one. I know this, and I know sometimes you don't want to play a themed one, but it does have 2 themes. You're good in October. You're pretty good in September, probably even. September, October, November, December. You know what? Some people are still getting away with those Christmas lights in January. So you're good 5 months out of the year with this one, okay? So don't give me the I'm not in the mood to play Original Gothic.
I biked past a house yesterday and they still had their Christmas wreath on their front of the door. Madness. We are in July, people. Take that down.
Maybe they're doing Christmas in July.
Yeah, maybe they're Australian.
That's a thing,
Yeah, maybe they're Australian and they're doing, exactly.
How do you feel about this one, though? What's your...
I'm conflicted, okay? I'll just wing my thoughts here. A reason why I'm conflicted is that I really enjoy Bogeys Bonanza a lot. I really enjoy that course. I like I did, like I said in the last part there, it does, some of the holes do feel like they've just been placed in rather than actually feel like they're part of the course. But overall, I love this course. Bogeys Bonanza is so fun. Hitting the ball into the Cowboy's heart to get a hole in one is quite hard to do, but if you do it, it's very satisfying. Going into the saloon's really fun as well. The fox hunt's really good. I really enjoyed the fox hunt on this one. There was one clue that was, I don't want to spoil it, but let's just say it was by the train, and that clue took me ages to find, and to find it was so satisfying. I really like Bogeys Bonanza. It's a fantastic course. Then you go to Gothic, Original Gothic. Now, I'm not a massive person for Halloween. I've already mentioned this. I do like the holidays. I do like Christmas and such, but for Halloween, I'm not the massive fan. Yeah, with Original Gothic, it's just like, it's not too much in your face like Widow's Walkabout is. It's just like a little tickle of a theme.
It feels like an autumn walk.
It's like exactly. And yeah, this. I feel like the course design for Original Gothic is pretty good as well. It matches to Bogeys Bonanza. There might be the odd 1 or 2 holes that might be a bit, but overall, it's a fantastic course as well. I actually really like the 18th hole for this one, especially on hard mode, where you have to go down. It's quite long, actually. You have to go down the ramp, you go right and such. Actually, no, that's the 17th hole. You go down like the ramp, and then you go right, and then you go down again. You can kind of try and skip past it if you can. And this one has a really
18's
annoying...
tough.
Yeah, 18's tough. There's a really annoying hole on the hard mode where you've got the hole on the ramp, and I'm not a big fan of the holes on the ramp. That one's a really tough one, but Original Gothic's a fan favorite, and I know why, because I love it too. I think it's a really, really good course. In hard mode with the Christmas theme, it's really fun. I think if this gets a remaster, I think it beats Bogeys, but I'm going with Bogeys for this one. And I'm sort of smiling because I feel like you're going the other way.
Yeah, I go Gothic. But what Parody say?
Well, we shouldn't know. We do use Parody last time. Go to Dave. What does Dave have?
Dave doesn't have any of these in his...
Oh, he didn't pick either. Okay, let's see.
He's got Alfheim over Gardens.
Okay, fair enough. Let's go to Parody then. Parody had Original Gothic. Well, Original Gothic was against Upside Town instead of Bogeys. Yeah,
I kind of knew Parody loved Original Gothic too.
Is that why he chose? Okay. Well, we'll go with. I mean, I don't know if from other comics from everyone else who commented on the Discord. I don't think anyone mentioned Bogeys Bonanza in particular. So because of that, I think we should go for Gothic. And I'm not too upset about that. But I do really think
these are all top 8.
These are all top ones, right? So Gothic makes it through. Let me just write that down here.
To the semifinal.
To the semi-finals. Next round, we got Seagull Stacks versus Journey to the Center of the Earth. Samson, I'll start with this one. The great thing about this course, both of these courses, they both kind of take you on a journey. Seagull Stacks goes all the way up and then all the way back down. Journey just goes all the way down. And then, but you're kind of going through and such. I've said at length that Journey to the Center of the Earth, I love this one just because of the hard mode. I think as the course in general, including the easy is good too, don't get me wrong, but I think as a complete package, Seagull Stacks is just a stronger package. And I think this one beats Journey even without the remaster because it is so well done. I think it's the course design for Seagull Stacks, the atmosphere, the fox hunt was really fun. I can't really comment on the balls because there's so many of them, so I can't even remember which one went where, right? But I think Seagull Stacks beats Journey to the Center of the Earth. If Journey to the Center of the Earth was impressive as the hard mode on both of them, maybe we would have more of a case, but I think Seagull Stacks for this one. What about you?
Dan, you almost convinced me to go Journey right off the bat. Like my gut with your whole argument last round for Journey to be here almost convinced me to I got Seagull top of my rankings here, way above Journey. But my gut going into this round from everything you said and just like, you know what? Journey is kind of fun. but Seagull's much like Original Gothic. I feel like I could always play it. The hard mode can go F itself sometimes. But man, it's a fun hard again. Once again, it's like those edges are all jaggedy.
I was about to say the rocks are hard. The rocks,
yeah.
There's no it's not like I think I can bounce it off here to give like an angle. Like they will send you flying no matter where you go.
But I love the vibe. I love the snow. You know what? You can kind of tell them from the northeast here because I've got Ice Lair here. I've got Original Gothic, which can get chilly down there. I've got Seagull Stacks that got the snow. And so I'm going Seagull Stacks here. It does eke this one out for me. To go to take on Original Gothic in the semis.
Yeah, it's funny how you're saying like you could be convinced. I'm so interested if you went and played Journey to the Center of the Earth and then played Seagull Stacks back to back of what you'd prefer. Just obviously we're not going to do that. It'll take us so long, but it'll be interesting because I think Journey to the Center of the Earth is better than a lot of people think as well because of how the aesthetics are. But I'm curious, what does we're putting Seagull stacks through, that goes through, but what does Dave say, since he put an explanation down?
Yes. Dave has Journey over Seagull. Tell me a story or play me a song. Either way is enjoyable. But what isn't enjoyable? Not knowing where my ball will go when it hit a rock. Ball path is almost unpredictable in Seagull, and that is just enough to be put out of the competition. But I will say, Journey has some rocks that are unpredictable as well.
They really do.
These are two of the rockiest courses.
They are, yeah. You are completely right. And if, especially on the hard mode, like I think, what is it, the first or second hole for? I think it's second hole, where you just go straight down. You go down, you go around the loop, and it goes all the way down. Your hole's really far below. I think it's on the second hole or so.
Yeah,
that one's really difficult if you don't get it right. You should play conservative all the time when it comes to that hole. So, yeah, and I think in Journey as well, there's two annoying holes on hard where there's one, for example, where you have to go through like a mouth or so, and there's like the teeth or little rocks just in the way. And
dude,
yeah, like that one is so. Dave, I don't know what you're talking about here. You've got hard rocks on both of them. But yeah, like both of them are just about the not the same, but that they do have like tough rocks. So yeah, I think you can go either way on that particular point. But yeah, I think, like we said, Seagull stacks, I think we're going for. Okay. Second part of round 3 in the second bracket, we have Lair versus El-dorado. Now, Samson, I'm going to let you start here because you've been a big fan of Lair throughout this whole podcast here, more so than me. So, what is going on in your brain between these two courses?
Dan, this is a tough one. I've got on my ranking, I do have El-dorado slightly above Lair.
Mm-hmm.
What's my gut telling me, though, Dan? What's my gut telling me? Because I've recently played both of these, and I think, Dan, this is where the gimmick came to die. Because I think I'm going with El-dorado ever so slightly over Lair. I'm happy Lair made it all the way to the top 8. I am. Yeah. I pushed hard for it. But I do think the ice is melting, and the storm has come in, and that is El-dorado passing Lair to go into the semifinals.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Lair beating Atlantis was probably used its last bag of ice, shall we say. I'm trying my best with those. Used its last bag of ice, and I think it's ran out here because El-dorado's lightning and rain somehow melts it away. I don't know if that works in physics, but let's say it does. Yeah, I think El-dorado is such a strong course, and it's probably up there in my top 2, top 3, and such, and it's gonna be hard to beat it. And yeah, I don't think we need to speak more about it. I think El-dorado goes through past Lair. So El-dorado. Okay, final one for this specific round: Quixote Valley versus 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I'm kind of going to give you more of a short answer here because as much as I like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea in terms of the level design and the aesthetics and a lot of the holes in there as well, once again, Quixote Valley with that wind physics is so strong that I think it just blows 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea out the way. There we go. You'll be proud of that one.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, Quixote Valley is just I think because of the aesthetic too, of where you're just in like a kind of like a greenery garden kind of space. You've got this beautiful music playing. You've got sheep and such, and it makes you want to play this over and over again. And 20,000 Leagues, I love fantastic, as we mentioned before. But Quixote, I'm just gonna have to press Quixote on this one, or make this one through. How about you?
Yeah, Quixote also ekes it out over 20K for me. It's a place I want to be more. I want to spend more time in Quixote Valley than I do 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It's just a fact of life. It's a fun course. they each do play around with blowing with the winds and all that jazz.
Mhm.
Ultimately, I just have more fun, I think, on Coyote Valley. That whole 18 is a great one. The clothes blowing in the wind on the drying rack. There's just not.
There, you got the
there's
date
not
as
really
well.
a whole.
The little date on
Yeah.
the side with the picnic
Yeah.
and such as well, which is really nice.
Even of all the hill ones that I don't like, it's probably the least frustrating one of all the hill ones I find.
Yeah, yeah. So,
So
Kiri,
Coyote Valley moves on to the semis for me.
beauty. Okay, so just to wrap up to round 3 here, we're gonna not break for a part. We're just gonna go through this one. We got original Gothic versus Seagull stacks. And we have El-dorado versus Coyote Valley. Before we get into it, though, I'm curious to see what our independent reviewers had as their semi-finalists. I'm going to say Parody for Life's first. Parody Life also had original Gothic through to this round, but it had it against Shangri-La. And in the... Did I read? Yeah, against Shangri-La. And then in the second side... I've got 2 PDFs here, bear with me. Second side, she had El-dorado, just like we did, versus Myst in that.
Nice.
And then she said, no matter what happens she said she couldn't decide between these semi-finalists, but no matter what happens, Myst will win, is what she says. How about Dave? What did he have?
Dave in his semifinals had Journey to the Center of the Earth over Alfheim, where he said Alfheim was a training ground for new artists at Mighty Coconut. While it is a great course and fun to play, it feels like it was put together by a bunch of new people rather than a small number of experienced artists. Journey flows from one area to another and has a lot of detail, but it all feels like it belongs. Parts of Alfheim just feel like they needed to be put somewhere, so they might as well stick them there. In the other matchup, he had Atlantis over Cherry Blossom, and he says, this one hurt. I had to ask myself if I could only play one course, and that gave it to Atlantis. I'm sorry, Cherry.
Yeah, fair enough. Just Alfheim, surprising that Alfheim made it that far. And the reason why Dave put it that far, I think he put, where was it, round 1? He says either one could go to the semifinals, but ultimately it comes down for original Gothic just showing its age. It says once this has been rebooted, then most likely it will go through. Just in case you were.
Well, there you have it. We've got OG to the semifinals.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's do wait, what did Dave have win out his whole thing in the end then? Because Parody had missed.
Yep. So this is all led up to Journey versus Atlantis. Atlantis came in at the number 1 seat, and Journey was a number 10. I don't know how those were determined. It could be all random for all I know, and it was. That being said, this is a heck of a matchup. The 18th hole of Journey that shoots a geyser of water is an absolute surprise your first time through. Unfortunately, it's just not enough to beat out the glowing of Atlantis' night course.
Very, very well. Okay, so let's go. Let's do ours. Let's finish ours here. Let's start off with 2 of the original courses, original Gothic versus Seagull stacks. I say ish because obviously Gothic was added just afterwards. Okay, Samson. I know how much you love original Gothic, but tell me how it stacks against Seagull stacks. That didn't work, but you know what I mean.
Nice. Well, things are finally looking a little spooky over there on those stacks of seagulls because the Goth is in town, and the Goth brings Christmas, and the Goth brings the wonderful tunes of whatever jingle that plays. That's fantastic. The Nutcracker. That's it. I'm pretty certain. Original Gothic ekes it out here for me. I do love these courses. I think either courses they're pretty good for new people. They're good for when you need to go on a date. They're good if it's the summertime, if it's the wintertime. They're good inside. They're good outside. They're good with a red fish, a blue fish, with one
What are
fish,
you
or two
talking
fish.
about?
Listen, I just love original Gothic. All right, that one where you got to hit it underneath the when they're in the jail cell.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
really
where the
frustrating one
skeleton
at times,
is.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I like where the hidden balls in the skeleton's
Yeah.
eye. That's
Yeah.
genius. Spoilers.
It's been a long time now, so yeah.
Yeah, I just love it. It's such a great place to be.
Yeah, I think Kimberly or Kim Kai 42 on the Discord and Patreon of the show also agreed with you. She said it's her favorite course to play is original Gothic. Great setting, especially at night in hard, and difficulty is nicely balanced. Yeah, I think it's a tough one for me. Both of these courses, I'm not sure if both of them would have made it this far in my own particular bracket. I'm very curious if I did my own one, and what would happen if it was going to be too much dissimilar. But anyway, I think that Seagull stacks overall I prefer as a course over original Gothic. However, I do think original Gothic, just like Kimberly just mentioned, and kind of what you've been alluding to as well, is that it's just a solid course overall in terms of level design and such. Where Seagull Stacks is really well put together, but especially on hard mode, it can be frustrating at times, and I really struggle with it. And maybe that's just my level of play, but there's some of those holes that I do really struggle with it. I don't know. Maybe on a different day I would say Seagull Stacks, but I agree with you. I'm going to go with Original Gothic, and Original Gothic makes it to our final. Original
Godspeed.
Gothic. So, who would it be against? Well, we have El-dorado and Quixote Valley, two incredibly strong DLCs. Like, no matter how the brackets were randomized and such, I feel like these two being in the semifinals is probably well deserving, as well as Gothic and Seagull Stacks as well, to be honest. We've spoke about this in length, but against each other, El-dorado has an amazing setting and a incredible immersion with that night mode, as well as you're playing, and it's very challenging. Don't get me wrong, but as we spoke before, it's challenging without it being too frustrating. Quixote Valley, on the other hand, has the amazing wind physics, has a beautiful setting in general. The only thing, this is the reason why I'm picking what I'm going to pick, is that Quixote Valley has a couple really frustrating holes, like the uphill, for example. And I don't think the 18th hole is anything to rush home about. And then the night mode is, in terms of setting wise, it's nice, but it's not El-dorado as well. So for those reasons, I'm putting El-dorado through over Quixote Valley. And once again, this is a decision that maybe I wake up tomorrow and I think, no, that was a stupid idea. We need to re-record this whole podcast. But
these are all coin flips at this point, Dan.
Yeah, they are. What about you?
Dan, it's a close one, and I am going back and forth here on whether or not I want a mechanic, so to say, heading into the finals, because I kind of like the idea of a course that involves a new unique mechanic making it into the final, the best course debate. I do. But at the same time, I do love me some El-dorado, and I love the atmosphere of it. And it's almost like it doesn't have a mechanic, but it gives you, it's such a cool world and unique world. When you're in God mode, you can't really see through the trees. It's kind of hard to tell. It's got some challenge to it, but it feels good. It feels good when you overcome that challenge. And ultimately, I think you're right that the difference between the easy and the hard mode is a bit more drastic in El-dorado, and I do think it ekes this one out here to get into the final.
Wow. Yeah, I was about to say, I forgot to mention that El-dorado's fox hunt was really fun too, and it was quite difficult as well. Had to really fly around everywhere, and I think I may have to use hints for El-dorado's one. It's a putter that I actually do tend to use quite a bit with the face.
Which one is it?
Sure. It's got like a thick gray kind of face on the top, and then it's like kind of like the alligator, but not. But it's a putter that I use a few times, but I still always go to Upside Towns as my main one, to be honest. I do like the broomstick too, but yeah. Okay, that's it. We've got original. After all of this, after almost 2.5 hours probably of podcasting here, we've got original Gothic versus El-dorado. And Samson, we might need to do a coin flip because I'm not too sure. Samson, what do you? We'll start off with you. Against Gothic against Dorado. Gothic's the top of your list, right? When it comes to your ranking.
It is. They're both actually in my top 5. I've clearly been doing good work here, pushing
Dorado's
my platform.
Dorado's technically at the moment on the top of my list as well. as courses, so this is going to be an interesting one. But okay, tell me, against each other, why should we pick one or the other?
So what I have written down with my original Gothic under favorite hole is it's truly a sum of the sum is greater than its parts, whatever that saying is.
Sure,
you understand. You can't really pick out one unique thing that really puts it over the top. It's the combo of everything. The fact that you're starting up top there, you're going through this sort of spooky, but not too spooky, atmosphere. None of the holes are too overly complicated. It's the one of the things after playing the first 4 courses I always wanted was like a swinging sword type of deal that you had to get it through past. They gave us that, Dan. And yes, it doesn't cut the ball. It doesn't. It's too early.
It was too early in its life cycle.
Maybe
remaster.
Maybe in the remaster it will. But I think original Gothic comes out on top for me in a very heartfelt. It's a close battle. I would not be mad if you think it's El-dorado. I might be able to be convinced of otherwise, because original Gothic does have some holes that are frustrating. But ultimately, Gothic wins it for me.
Interesting. Okay, so you're on Team Gothic here. I'm on Team Dorado. And I think Dave mentioned this in his little spiel that he sent to us, that if Gothic has a remaster, then maybe this conversation is slightly different. But I think as of today,
Very true.
Dorado's core, like, let's just think about the holes compared to the Gothic holes. Similar-ish, like when I meant similar-ish, like obviously the holes in Dorado are a bit more advanced in terms of the elements of what they've done, but in terms of similar, I mean just like really well balanced in terms of the course. Like there are Dorado's a hard course, don't get me wrong, but the whole thing is it's not just like one really frustrating hole or anything like that or whatnot. It's not. That's what for me in Seagull stacks. I feel like Seagull stacks there's a few that are like a bit too hard compared to the rest of the course. Where this is like a really well balanced course where you know it's going to be a harder course, but it's like that throughout the whole thing. Gothic has got a lot of interesting holes. There's some a bit more plain, just because it's an older course in general. But it's of its time, it's really really fun. And the rooftop hole is really fun when you first do it, and you roll down, and you've got the guillotine hole and such. Guillotine. Yeah, not guillotine.
But it isn't a guillotine either.
It's not a guillotine. It's to put your no. It's where you put your wrists and hands in, and there's like a ramp and such. I didn't even think of the right thing, but anyway, that's really fun. Like once again, we keep speaking about El-dorado's like beautiful atmosphere, and Gothic is also the same. Just it's a bit dated, but it is what it is, right? That's how we are. And in terms, I think what it really comes down to is what you when you look at the two courses, and that's like kind of what Dave said as well. Is like which is the course where you can't live without and such, and it's like the course where if I'm taking one course with me on this trip, what do I want to take with me? And to me it's El-dorado, just because of the
Dan.
yeah
You kind of convinced me with that line. You're right.
Yeah, to me it's Dorado. I think Gothic is an incredibly phenomenal course, and once that gets remastered, it's going to be beyond incredible. It's going to be a really fantastic course. But Dorado's jungle-like wasteland setting is so good. We added that on with beautiful challenging holes, add that on with fun holes where when you're on the top and you need to go down to the bottom, and you can either get it through the hole and it will bring you to the bottom, or you can just try and go for it, which is something that maybe like Tethys Station and Arizona Modern suffer in, because there's only one way to go, where at least in El-dorado you can, there's ways to get down without needing to try and just test physics basically out and such. But there's Dorado for me for all those reasons. I love that course so much. It's so well done.
I'm okay with it coming out on top.
Are you sure? Are you? I look at the people. I look at the people, Samson, and Parody for Life loves Original Gothic hard. She says it has been her favorite from the beginning. Loves the challenging level holes, and when you go in the castle, I beyond love the lights and music. She also says her favorite hole is hole 18 on El-dorado hard. To conflict with that, we said already. Kimberly said that her favorite course is Original Gothic as well. So I'm wondering what everyone at home listening to this or watching this, I say at home, in your car, on your work, in whatever you're doing on your walks and such, what you would pick out of the two. Maybe your brackets will be totally different, just like Parody for Life is totally different, just like Dave's totally different. But yeah, Samson, if you want to concede this one for El-dorado, I say concede, it's a weird thing, but you know what I mean. Let's do it then. Yeah. El-dorado is the official LTO's best course for the official.
I want Original Gothic in the thumbnail, though. It's got to be like a boxing match or something. What are you going to do?
Fight versus Original Gothic versus El-dorado.
They each must have their own coconut, right? Because each DLC or each course has gotten its own.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Gothic has its own coconut, because I'm not sure if they did that with. I'm not sure if they did that with Gothic, because I think they only started doing that more recently than anything.
Recently, you're right.
But yeah, Samson, that is it. I'm gonna kind of end it here. We've had, I think, an hour and a half.
That was a short one.
Yes, that's a short one. I'm sweating buckets once again for this one. Okay, so we had El-dorado come out on top. For everyone listening and watching, thanks so much for going through this. I hope you had as much fun as we did. I had a great time. Samson, did you have a great time?
It was a good time. It was a long one, but yeah.
Yeah, it was a long one, but it was fun to do. If you want to join in as well, remember, I will leave a link to a PDF basically of the bracket that we did. There might be 2 links for either bracket side, or there might just be one. I haven't made it yet properly for this, so you'll see that in the description. And then join us on the Discord. Once you do your bracket, please go ahead and save it in our Walkabout mini golf Discord channel. We're so curious to see what you have. In fact, I might do it as a Word document, so you can just drag images around and it will all look nice and pretty. It'll be fun. But yeah, El-dorado comes out on top for us. This is a bit of a celebration podcast for Walkabout, obviously celebrating the Wallace and Gromit one that comes out next week. And that's everything. Samson, you got any words of wisdom to sign us off at? And if you don't, just say something fun.
Well, for